The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
7 minutes after 6. Today is Monday, the 13th of July, 2025, and it's a blue Monday. It is an absolutely blue Monday, not in the sense that you would think of a blue Monday being a difficult day, slow start, etc. It's a blue Monday in the sense that the Blues of London are the world champions, the kings of world football, Chelsea Football Club. Welcome to it, the Monday edition of the Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107. We've scanned and scoured the globe. We've scanned and scoured your locality, province, country, and continent and the globe. And we've identified those stories that we believe will be of most consequence to you on this Monday. And we've packaged them together and are proudly presenting them in the form of this morning's briefing session. So here's some of what we will tell you. Yet another Judicial Commission of Inquiry loading. President Cyril Ramaphosa appoints the acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga to investigate the gravely serious allegations of the undermining of the rule of law that have been made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, which allegations implicate, among others, the Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. As for Mchunu, well, his boss, the President, has ordered that he take special leave while the investigation continues. The Madlanga Commission will probe alleged collusion with criminal syndicates by officials in a wide array of institutions such as the SAPS, National Prosecuting Authority, the State Security Agency, the Judiciary and Magistracy, as well as the Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Police Departments. The President is also, in a way, I got the sense that he was trying to placate or perhaps preempt and perhaps allay concerns about how long these processes, such as judicial commissions of inquiry, take and the outcome thereof. So part of what he has done then is to order that the commission, the Madlanga Commission, will have the power to refer matters for immediate criminal investigation and urgent decisions on prosecution when necessary. So we'll have two takes on that. One other thing I need to mention is that in Mkhunu's absence, the vets law professor, Professor Firoz Kachalia, will act as the police minister. So two takes on that story. Gareth Newham, who is head of justice and violence prevention at the Institute for Security Studies, will kick us off at the top of 7. And then immediately after that, we'll hear from William Gumede, who is founder and executive chair of Democracy Works Foundation and also a professor at the Wits School of Governance. So those are the two takes we have lined up for you. Of course, we'll take lots of reaction, including reaction from yourself this morning. You can weigh in on that conversation. How has the advent of artificial intelligence applications revolutionized the way that you do your work? For instance, do you now write rough outlines of a work report with all the facts and figures and then ask AI apps to neaten or polish it and even convert it into a PowerPoint presentation for you? Well, that may be fair and fine until these applications start infusing what's known as AI hallucinations. This is the phenomenon where a large language learning model or other AI system simply generates false, misleading, or nonsensical information and presents it as fact. Now imagine the consequences when that happens in a critical profession such as law practice, legal practice, where people's rights and interests are at stake. That's exactly what's got the Law Society of South Africa concerned, the growing phenomenon of legal practitioners turning to AI systems and then being misled into citing non-existent cases in their court filings and arguments. In one of the more notorious cases, the Mavundla versus MEC KZN matter, only 2 of the 9 cited cases were real. And the issue has again cropped up in a recent case, that is Northbound Processing versus SA Diamond Regulator, where 2 fabricated citations were found. So at about 10 to 8 this morning, we'll be speaking to Azar Aziz Ismail, who is chairperson of the Johannesburg Attorneys Association, and he will be Azar will be talking to us on behalf of the Law Society of South Africa. We'll be talking about this phenomenon. I don't want to give you a third headline simply because I must apologize to you. I am going to be that annoying radio host because today, as I said, is a Blue Monday. And on Friday, I had been dared to bring Chelsea buns, and I thought, too humble for world champions. So before we go, we'll be putting these apps to the test and try and order and see if we can get champagne in the studio and pop a bottle, have bubbles. Melissa is also here, so I think it is apt. I assure you it will be non-alcoholic. Let's just say that. It's too early, guys. You know, we may be happy and excited, but it is too early. So I'm in a very positive mood this morning. So do forgive me. I will be a bit annoying. We'll go over this quite a bit. And all that has gone wrong in as far as Chelsea is concerned in the last 3 seasons, it's all forgiven, okay? Clean slate. We're starting on a clean slate, absolutely, wearing the badge very proudly. And I'll be asking Stanza to put up some pictures on Facebook and just, in full celebration. All right, enough about that. The full bench of the Morning Brief team is ready, able and willing to serve you with your essential updates throughout the morning. And Musa stands at the ready with your hourly and half-hourly news updates. Rob Byrne confirms he has your traffic updates. Zaikan has your sports. Melissa Buta with your Morning Brief in brief, and that's coming up shortly. Dowling Lechela, as always, will come through with your business, market and economic updates, as well as Mantula with your Africa update just before, at about 20 to 7 this morning. You can be a part of this conversation. Give me a call. The number is 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes, I'll take those on 061 410 4107. On social media, we are at SAFM Radio on X. We are SAFM Radio on Facebook and Instagram. We are also live on our YouTube channel, that is SAFM Radio, also live, by the way, also on Facebook. So, what are we waiting for? Let's get the Monday edition of the Morning Brief underway.
They all believe they will be crowned champions, but gold medallions are reserved for the best of them all. It is the incredible clash of the 12 African women's national teams. Catch all the 24 matches of the Cap Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025 on SABC Plus, S3, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Temba, how do I check if I've been auto-assessed by SARS?
No need to stress at all. Go to the SARS online query system dashboard, SOX. It only takes a few minutes.
Really? Where do I find it?
Go to the SARS website and then look for the SOX dashboard icon. Make tax matters your priority number 1. Go to sars.gov.za and say goodbye to queues. SARS, at your service.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the Morning Brief.
All right, Melissa Buta in studio with the Morning Brief in brief. Melissa, good morning. Please greet me properly.
Good morning, Thulasizwe.
No, good morning, world champion.
Good morning, world champion.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about the announcement from last night from President Cyril Ramaphosa. There's been reaction from the Police Minister, Senzo Mchunu.
Yes, so Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, has accepted and supported the decision of the President Ramaphosa and will take a leave of absence following serious allegations made by KZN Provincial Commissioner of Police. President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced the establishment of a judicial commission of inquiry chaired by Acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga to investigate the matter. Minister Mchunu has welcomed the inquiry and expressed his full support and willingness to cooperate, emphasizing his commitment to honor and integrity.
And the goings on at the Road Accident Fund continue to be at the heart of much intrigue. Tell me about what the suspended CEO and CIO have been saying.
So during a media briefing, both suspended RAF CEO Collins Letswalo and CIO Sifotle Mudiba claimed that they are both being targeted and threatened, including receiving death threats for exposing the alleged corruption within the Road Accident Fund. They also accused judges, lawyers, and RAF board chair Lorraine Francis of financial misconduct. Both have denied the charges against them. Letswalo over a 79 million rand lease and Modiba over misrepresenting his work history, and further called for suspensions, called their suspensions retaliatory. Letswalo highlighted his achievements at RAF and accused the judiciary of bias, claiming the fund was previously a looting vehicle and vowing to expose systematic corruption despite personal risks.
Yeah, we shall see how that story unfolds, because the Standing Committee on Public Accounts has got its eyes trained on this particular situation at the Road Accident Fund, demanding accountability. The last story that you're going to highlight is a story we touched upon recently.
Yes.
The proposed registration of a party called the Islamic State of Africa Party. There's been an outcome there.
Yes, so the latest development from the IEC is that the IEC has rejected the Islamic State of Africa's application to register as a political party founded by Fahad Huma, who has been accused of terrorism. The ISS aimed to introduce Sharia law into South Africa. The application was denied due to insufficient signatures, limited public notice, and over 200 objections, citing concerns about its religious goals and name similarity to ISIS. ISA has 30 days to appeal this outcome, so that will be an interesting one to watch how it pans out.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. That's Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, here's how it's looking. No impact-based warnings that have come through from the South African Weather Service, so straight to the weather. Pretoria will be fine with a minimum of 7 and a maximum of 22. Johannesburg fine, 5 to 21. Mbombela fine, 11 to 25. Polokwane will be partly cloudy with a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 21. Mahikeng partly cloudy and windy, 7 to 22. Bloemfontein will be partly cloudy and windy, 6 to 21. Kimberley, partly cloudy and windy, 4 to 24. Uppington, fine and windy, 6 to 24. Cape Town will be partly cloudy with a minimum of 8 and a maximum of 15. George will be partly cloudy, 4 to 17. Gqeberha, partly cloudy, 10 to 19. East London, partly cloudy with light rain, 12 to 18. Durban will be partly cloudy. Fog can be expected in the evening with a minimum of 13 and a maximum of 22. Richards Bay, partly cloudy. Fog can also be expected in that area in the evening with a minimum of 14 and a maximum of 23. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will also have similar conditions. Partly cloudy with fog expected in the evening with a minimum of 8 and a maximum of 21.
Kathy Motlatlana on SAFM.
So why I'm asking the question in this way, Mr. Ngumalo, is because I want to know, did you conduct this raid before or after the briefing that was held by General Mkhwanazi on Sunday?
I cannot be specific in terms of time, but what we can state is that these are the two raids. And
but why does it matter? Why does it matter? Because this is a raid that has already happened. I'm not asking you to give us details of raids that you're still going to conduct. Singabako Ngumalo.
If you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen, and nothing is off the agenda.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
Right, let's revisit a story that we covered just recently. A devastating aviation disaster last month, claiming the lives of 260 people, when an Air India Boeing 787 Dreamliner crashed shortly after takeoff from Ahmedabad in India. The preliminary findings of an investigation into that crash have now been released by India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, that is the AAIB, and they reveal a disturbing sequence of confusion in the cockpit and a mysterious cutoff of engine fuel, raising safety questions for both the airline and the aircraft manufacturer Boeing. So we are scheduled to speak to Lyndon Burns, just trying to connect with Lyndon. A part of what we will be reflecting on, you'll remember this is the incident, the crash that happened on the 12th of June, and video of it was shared, and you can see the aircraft taking off and shortly thereafter crashing into a neighborhood in Ahmedabad. So as normal, the investigation will include the authority that investigates accident in that country of origin, but the country where the aircraft is manufactured, so the United States in this case, this being a Boeing, will also be involved in the investigation, because the whole idea in aviation is that every crash should provide lessons and tweaks and improvements to ensure that you address whatever the issue was that led to that crash, such that it doesn't occur again. So that's really how it plays itself out. We're just battling with a little bit with connecting to Lyndon Burns, but we will keep trying and see if we can get him, because part of what I want him to talk to is in this particular instance, there's been a great focus on the cutoff switches. So the fuel cutoff switches seem to have flipped moments after takeoff. And, you know, this audio has now been released from the cockpit voice recorder. And it just talks about confusion in the cockpit. And now the question, you know, I guess at hand is what made the fuel cutoff switches to activate in that way. So that's part of what we wanted to cover with Lyndon Burns. Let's see if we can get him on. We'll bring him on, but if not, we'll have to move on, because we are battling to connect with him. In fact, if we battle, we may take one or two of your voice notes. I'm seeing some of them coming in. Worryingly, I'm not seeing the ones that I want to see, okay? I'm not seeing the ones that I want, okay? It's about what I want this morning. So do the right thing and send me the ones that I want to see. All right, let's see if we can take one or two of those voice notes.
SABC News turns 75 on July the 17th, 2025.
Since the dawn of democracy, SABC News has grown into your trusted source for news and current affairs, shaping our nation and the world for the past 75 years.
From July 12th to the 17th, SAFM Current Affairs presents exclusive interviews with iconic presenters, producers, and news leaders.
We're exploring the legacy of SABC News, highlighting the voices that have defined our story.
Join SAFM for a week of compelling reports and unforgettable moments.
SABC News at 75.
Independent and impartial.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, as you can expect, there will be lots of reaction to the media briefing, the address to the nation by President Cyril Ramaphosa from last night, in which the announcement was made of the Commission of Inquiry to look into the allegations made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Let me take one or two of those before I get to the critical one. There's a critical voice note that I see here. It's absolutely crucial that it must be played.
Another commission of inquiry, please, Mr. President. South Africans are taken for fools by this man. Senzo Mchunu should be tried in court by the NPA, not asked to take a leave of absence. This is Andile from Mtanzane.
Hey, Andile, thank you for that. I share your frustration about the number of commissions of inquiry, all sorts of processes all the time. But I had to think to myself, what's the alternative? Where the allegations made by Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi implicate everyone from SAPS, Correctional Services, Johannesburg Metro Police, Ekurhuleni Metro Police, some prosecutors, some in the judiciary. You just, it just felt like, I don't know, how do you probe and get to the bottom of it? How do you have what they call audi alteram partem? How do I hear the other side of the story? How do I ensure that it's brought forward adequately? So I suppose that was the thinking, that if it implicates all these institutions, perhaps you need a process outside of those institutions, led by someone who, doesn't really have an interest because he's going into retirement, is Justice Madlanga there. So I don't know, that's my initial thinking about it. But I'm also as frustrated as you are, because many of these commission outcomes are hardly ever implemented. Quick voice note before we go to Zai.
Chelsea, we are the champions, my friend. We are the champions, my friend.
Yes,
Mr. Thulasizwe Simelane, Makuchwa, the Blues conquering the world.
Listen.
The Blues conquering the America.
We're not singing the blues.
Most of my friends were telling me on Saturday that we are going to get a big score. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is football. Thank you. The Blues.
We're not singing the blues this morning.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
It's a very good morning to you.
Thou shalt greet me properly, please. Thank you.
Says someone who's not just bringing us Chelsea buns, who's going to be bathing in champagne later tonight. Anyway, I think we're going to be popping corks for a long time in studio. We've got, this team, they did it. Chelsea, stunning. European champions, Paris Saint-Germain, 3-0 at the FIFA Club World Cup final. Chelsea lift the inaugural 32-team Club World Cup title, capping a season that also saw them win the UEFA Conference League, and they finished fourth in the Premier League. Now, from one champions to the next, the African champions, Banyana through to the Women's Africa Cup of Nations 2025 quarterfinals, and that's without kicking a ball. South Africa progression was confirmed after Group A. They wrapped up on Saturday with Morocco and Zambia winning 1-0 to seal their spots and eliminate DR Congo. Banyana now turn their focus, and that's to tonight's clash with Mali in Oujda, and they will decide who tops Group C and potentially avoid a heavyweight quarterfinal opponent like Nigeria or Morocco. In the meantime, our neighbours Botswana, they came from behind to edge Tunisia 2-1 in their Women's Africa Cup of Nations clash in Casablanca. The result secures Botswana's first points of the tournament and a third-place finish in Group B. But their quarterfinal hopes hang in the balance, with only two of the best third-place teams advancing. Botswana's -1 goal difference leaves them trailing Senegal. The other match saw Nigeria. They booked top spot in Group B at the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. They had a 0-0 draw against Algeria. Cycling, Tim Merlier won stage 9 of the Tour de France after a heroic long-range escape from Mathieu van der Poel was caught in the final kilometre. No changes atop the overall standing. Tadej Pogacar holding a 54-second advantage over Remco Evenepoel in second, and the French starlet Kevin Vauquelin in third. And tennis, the world number one, Yannick Sinner won his first Grand Slam title, wearing down Carlos Alcaraz 4-6, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4 at the All England Club. And wheelchair star South Africa's Donald Rampardi says it's a dream come true to have reached the Wimbledon final. He walked away with silver in the quad doubles alongside his British partner Gregory Slade. Rampardi was having his first ever partnership with Slade and expressed his admiration.
Man, he's an great individual. He has good sense of humor, and he did well for himself this week. I mean, getting to the semifinals in singles and finals in doubles. Such a great achievement for him. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see what we can do more in future with me and Craig in the doubles. So I mean, all in all, he did well for himself. He had a great week.
And that's your wrap of the morning brief sport. Well, we haven't recovered yet from last night, but I'm sure we will.
I didn't sleep, I didn't sleep much.
Woo, I'm telling you, we have to rebrand the studio now. You can tell it by the way Thulas is behaving, right?
Well, the colors are not so far off. Actually, look at the colors of the station.
I know.
Okay? Thank you very much.
And that's it. We'll see you later.
All right, let's go to Ann Musa. Ann, good morning to you. We're doing it slightly differently. Please greet me properly.
Good morning, Thulas.
No. Good morning, world champion.
Oh, wow. Okay. Champion. Thulas, you deserve it.
Thank you.
Well, a very good morning to you. I'm Ann Musa. In the headlines, DA leader John Steenhuisen says members of the Government of National Unity were not consulted on President Cyril Ramaphosa's decisions following allegations that criminal syndicates have infiltrated law enforcement agencies. The Judicial Commission of Inquiry established by President Ramaphosa will investigate allegations related to criminal syndicates' infiltration of institutions in the criminal justice system. And the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, has described the late former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari as a distinguished statesman. However, Nigerians have divided views of the former president who died yesterday at a clinic in London at the age of 82. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Top story this morning is the protesting out at Air Twatwa between Benoni and Delmas, sort of Davey to the Twatwa area, if you like, around Lara Street. The N12 is heavily backed up both directions, and Lara Street that would take you off the N12 in and out of Air Twatwa, also with burning tyres and also with some traffic delays. So it looks like motorists are sort of doing the long loop around out of Twatwa, Lara Street up to Modder Road, and then Modder Road back down to the N12. So make sure you've got plenty of time to get through there. You will be significantly delayed and you will be diverted as well. Roadworks on the R21 coming south are close to the Benoni exit this morning. That's causing some delays. It's also crashed just off the R21 on Pomona Road coming from Burdell down to the highway. It's quite slow. And a crash on the M1 North after Winnie Mandela. Traffic heavy coming up from the Randburg side this morning. Durban on your way into town. A collision out by Paradise Valley. It's on the N3. Paradise Valley through to Pavilion Mall. Just watch out for that one. And Cape Town heavy backlogs on the N7 northbound. There's an early queue this morning passing Langa up towards Viking Way. That big sort of Epping Fire Station junction. Going north is being held up towards Goodwood. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Ndauling. Ndauling, I don't think I need to remind you what the protocol is this morning. So good morning to you.
So everyone has to say good morning to the champion, basically.
Absolutely. Just for this hour at least. In the second hour, I'll stop abusing everyone.
Oh,
Okay, I did not expect that. Ndauling, you're missing out on the champagne that we're having a bit later on. But
you said you're going to Uber Eats or Uber send me my portion.
Is there a record of me saying this?
I have witnesses that are in studio right now.
Can we pull up the record? I don't remember this. If you're not in studio, you miss out. That's how these things work. You should have been here. Okay, thank you. Let's talk about Trump now. Let's get to business, and Darling. Let's talk about Trump and these tariffs that he has slapped on Mexico and the EU.
Yeah, the EU and Mexico, the latest to receive, those love letters from the Trump administration. On Saturday, Trump announced that the US will impose a 30% tariff on goods from the European Union and Mexico, effective from the beginning of August. Now, this decision is part of Trump's broader effort to reshape US trade relationships through aggressive tariff diplomacy, aiming to address trade deficits. Of course, Trump's tariff announcement isn't limited to the EU and Mexico. Similar letters have been sent to 23 other US trading partners, including SA, with tariff rates ranging from 20 to 50%. Now, in response to the tariffs, EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen stated that the EU is ready to continue working towards an agreement by the end of the month, while also preparing to safeguard EU interests through countermeasures if necessary. Mexico's government has also expressed disagreement, calling the tariffs unfair treatment and seeking to establish a binational working group to resolve issues.
And then, Ndauling, tell me about what's happening with Google, them hiring Windsurf execs. Who is Windsurf?
So Windsurf is a AI coding startup that's really gained traction over the past few months. They were actually in talks with OpenAI a few months ago. OpenAI was supposed to acquire it, but that deal fell through. And what we're seeing in the tech industry of late is just a lot of big tech companies going after these really qualified execs in the AI industry. It's basically a talent war.
So it's basically harvesting from the startups to boost their AI offerings.
Yes, that's right. Of course, we just in an attempt to ramp up those AI efforts and having the right people with the expertise to head up those units. Google, the latest to make a significant hiring move, hiring top executives of Windsurf, as I mentioned, an AI coding startup, which uses AI tools to write code. Initially, Windsurf was in acquisition talks with OpenAI, but that fell through. Now, the hiring of Windsurf's leadership team includes the co-founders and will boost Google's AI coding initiatives within Google DeepMind. This move strengthens Google's competitive position against Microsoft's GitHub Copilot and highlights the growing importance of AI coding tools. Now, despite this move, Windsurf will remain independent and continue to license its technology to other companies. The deal also underscores, the increasing demand for talent in this space, with Meta making job offers to OpenAI employees and investing $14.3 billion in Scale AI.
And how are the markets looking at this hour, Ndauling?
So starting in Wall Street, markets closed last week on a sour note with major indices in the red. The VIX index that measures markets' expectations of volatility has increased, indicating some nervousness in financial markets as more of Trump's tariff love letters are issued. And it's the same tariff jitters that have also weighed on local markets. The JSE All-Share shedding 0.15% in Friday's close, with the Financial 15 leading the losses down over 2%. The Rand also struggling this morning, edging closer to the 18 Rand mark as riskier assets take a knot. It's at 17.95 to the dollar this hour. Lastly, in Asia, markets surprisingly in the green, shrugging off tariff concerns. This as traders take comfort in improving Chinese export data.
The morning briefs, Ndauling Lechela with the first update of the morning. She'll be back with more insights for you in the second hour, and that's just after 7:30 a.m.
Africa Update on SAFM.
For that, we turn to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. We start with a bit of sad news coming out of London, but with links to Nigeria.
Refreshing morning, African Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Indeed, Thulas, we saw yesterday.
No. Proper greetings, Mujambo Africa.
Jumbo Africa, Africa. Refreshing morning. I have to do the protocol. The world champion. Okay, what is the good about the morning? There was one prophet who said, what is good about the morning, people?
Please go ahead.
No, Thulas, I know you are a sports fanatic. I will just follow the protocol. Refreshing and Jumbo Africa.
Let's start with some sad news, though, coming out of London with links to Nigeria.
Thulas, I thought let me just bring the three messages that came out yesterday with the passing of Muhammadu Buhari as a former president, a former general, a man who led that country in the late 80s, in 1983. He went on a military coup, Thulas, but he was ousted in 20 months. Elected into presidency 10 years ago in 2015, left office in 2023. I thought three people are very important in this instance, Thulas. The presidential aide, Femi Adesina, who has wrote a book about him early this year called Working with Buhari. And that's where he said that beyond the policy, monetary foreign policy, he went on what we call the software of Buhari as a person, not the hardcore of Buhari. Also, I saw President Bola Tinubu the Jagaban also raising the role and also calling for 7 days of national mourning in that country, raising the role that he has played as a patriot, a soldier, a statesman to the very core again, coming from hardcore software, now President Tinubu talking about to the core, and also saying that the government will also bring his body from London. And London becomes a crime scene to us. He went there for 104 days for medical attention in the late 2018, 2019, you will recall.
Yeah.
And I think finally President Ramaphosa also, even if yesterday to us it was a family gathering, he had to throw a message of support, of bereavement to the government of Bola Tinubu, and raising the role that he has worked with President Buhari during the time of COVID-19, and also that their engagements were on issues of arts and culture, education, trade and investment. Those are the memories that he will always remember with President Muhammadu Buhari, once a general and also a former president of Nigeria.
Yeah. Let's stay in West Africa, Sipho. Tell me about Cameroon going to the elections in October.
Cameroon is going to decide late this year in October. President Biya ascending to the decree over the weekend. These elections to us are different from other elections. They are for 7 years presidential term. President Paul Biya is at the age of 92. He has been in power for 40 years. He has assumed presidency in 1982. He has not yet indicated whether he intends to seek re-election. We know the last elections, there were issues to us in 2018 about irregularities. He has also removed a presidential term limit, which others said will allow him to run indefinite numbers of terms. But rumors are still saying that he still seek whether he will stand, but there are opponents in that country. But Cameroon, Yaoundé, the land of Roger Miller, they are deciding to us on the 12th of October 2025.
Imagine the prospect of a 92-year-old seeking re-election. 92 to a 7-year term.
Yeah, to us, this is happening in Africa, and it's not it is not a mystery. They say Kagame used to say, if the electorates want to back in office, they will always vote for you.
All right, let's move on to the Independent Electoral Commission and Boundaries Commission in Kenya. Tell me about them being appointed and being sworn in.
Thulas, it's been 2 years since retirement of the late chairperson and other commissioners in Kenya post the elections in Kenya. If you recall, the controversial elections of 2022, 2017, led by the late Wafula Chibukati. For 2 years, there was no Electoral Boundaries Commission. Now, President Ruto confirming one of the former lawyers in the United Nations Development Program, Eurostas, Indung Etekon, who has been appointed as the Electoral Boundaries Commission chair, and other 6 members. I think there are 3 women and 3 men, or 6 men and 1 woman in this group, and the chairperson, rumors are that is linked to the president, Ruto, and his deputy chief of staff, and that might also have a challenge when we are going for voter registration between 2026 towards 2027. But Kenya now is fully fledged when you look at the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission having a leadership of 7 commissioners who will serve for the next 6 years, and they will lead Kenya to the elections of 2027.
And lastly, Sipho, your historical archive harks back to a golden era in as far as journalism in this country is concerned, the drum generation. Tell me what happened on the 14th of July, 1965.
It's almost 60 years ago when we lost one of our own, the son of the soil, who passed away in the U.S. Others, they say, was lonely and homesick. He knew that he could not return home. And as you have said, he was a journalist, he was a writer. We talk about Ndazana, Nathaniel Nakasa. This is the man, Thulas, as you said, being in the drama magazine in the late 50s, characterizing Sophia Town with the legends like Ken Temba, Asa Maimani, Block Mudisani, Natasa, Nakasa, Thulas. We know him also. He worked for the Rent Daily Mail. as a black columnist during those years. He was also part of the Drama magazine. And now today it marks 60 years since the passing of this writer and a journalist, par journalist excellence, on this day in 1965, the 14th of July. Asante sana Thulas, as we're in the conversation, SFM observing the International Mandela Month, as well as 75 years of SABC, that we will always talk about it, Thulas, the power of the radio and the theatre of the mind.
Sipho, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mantula with your Africa update.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
The only talk radio morning breakfast show that makes sense. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
Let's turn to this story now. There's been a health emergency at two initiation schools in Limpopo's Waterberg district, where 21 male initiates from Lesodi and Rantlakane villages required urgent medical attention following botched circumcision procedures. The incident has prompted intervention from provincial health authorities and heightened scrutiny of over initiation practices just weeks before the 2025 winter initiation season ends. So let's speak to Paskopo Makamo, who is the Limpopo MEC for Cooperative Governance, Human Settlements and Traditional Affairs. Good morning to you, MEC, and thank you for your time. So this all came to light during a routine monitoring visit to the initiation schools by authorities. Tell me what health officials found during this oversight visit.
Thanks very much, Thulasizwe, and thanks, greetings to the listeners of SAFM. You will remember when we started the season, we have put in place both health and the Cogstar officials who should be monitoring the initiations everywhere in the province. So on their daily work, they picked it that some of the children, mainly it was just two of them, they were seeing them, that they are not progressing very well in terms of how they should be able to conclude their issues. At that time, they decided to go to the hospital and get, because we also have the team from health professionals, our nurses, we should always visit our initiation schools just to check how things are done, how things are being managed there. So they found the two boys were not necessarily progressing as expected. Then they decided to do a check for all the initiates and found that about 21 of them are not necessarily progressing as they were supposed to. And they decided to get the medical attention from professional nurses within the hospital of George Marcel. So that is how the matter is being handled, but it's a matter that we are busy investigating properly to see the expertise type of arrangement by the traditional surgeon in that regard. But it's a matter that our doctors and our nurses are on top of it.
What's your preliminary review, MEC? Does this incident reveal safety lapses and lapses in adhering to health protocols as far as how this procedure is done?
Yeah, where we are, it's a preliminary view because, like I said, that in their routine monitoring, they pick that they are not progressing well. We look at this as a matter that will want an intensive investigation whether the traditional surgeon does have proper experiences that can be able to be done. But it showed that they have done it before without necessarily much problems. But it's a matter that has attracted the attention of the provincial administration that we will want to give delve much or deeper into the situation.
Alongside this kind of oversight that you just outlined, My understanding is that you've also had to sanction over 500 initiation schools this year. That's a big number, MEC. What have been the sanctions for, and how effective do you believe that they will be in stamping out the kind of conduct that you don't want to see at initiation schools?
Let me say, Thulasizwe, that we put more emphasis during preparations before any initiations. In our province, the majority of the initiation schools will be within the traditional leadership area, wherein a traditional leader or a senior traditional leader, which the permit will be in his name, we do conduct compulsory workshops to prepare on what is it that needs to be done. But further than that, because we know that sometimes you may put in mechanism in place, but as they don't go necessarily according to the plan, you have got monitors, both from the Department of Coxstar and Health, to monitor each and every initiation schools. You will know, Thulasizwe, that in our province, the initiation schools are in that regard where many children will be in one initiation school. You will find that in one school you have got 500. On a daily basis, we have assigned people or monitors to individual initiation schools. Sometimes it could be these individuals that maybe let us down, that they should be able to monitor any number. Say 10 people get in today, you should be able to go and see and make sure that all the 10 have completed the forms, have been assessed. They don't necessarily have any other sickness that they are carrying in. If they get to be admitted, are they being admitted with their medication from home or what? So we do have a team in each and every initiation schools where we could not necessarily pass a day or two without having gone to observe whether all the boxes that needs to be ticked are ticked for all the initiates.
Without being callous about it or being glib about it, because these are human lives and not just numbers, just give me a sense of how we're doing in trying to keep the number of fatalities down this year. The last time I checked, I thought there were reports of 2 deaths during this initiation season.
Thulasizwe, I must indicate that as provincial administration, we regret the 2 incidents. And it's something that one death which has been caused by the burning injuries in one of the initiation schools around Zanin. It's very painful to us, and we have started to put in place an investigation that will delve much better on it. But we are trying. We have convened our provincial PICC to heighten the vigilance on our monitors on the issues, looking at the do's and don'ts with remaining days, because you remember most of our initiation schools will be completing their time by the weekend, the 18th. So we even met, but I can confirm that even Minister Hlabisa convened us yesterday, and the meeting was too detailed, including all our premiers. So there are a lot of things that we are doing, even as the government as a whole, to make sure that we put things to place.
MEC, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's MEC Baskopo Makamu, who is Limpopo MEC for Cooperative Governance, Human Settlements and Traditional Affairs.
WAFCON reigning champions Banyana Banyana believe they can deliver 3 points to the people of the South. Meanwhile, the West Africans Mali have a big task to wrap up their run in Group C with a win. This is the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024. South Africa tackles Mali on Monday 14 July at 9 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and S3. Also available on SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Temba, how do I check if I've been auto-assessed by SARS?
No need to stress at all. Go to the SARS online query system dashboard, SOX. It only takes a few minutes.
Really? Where do I find it?
Go to the SARS website and then look for the SOX dashboard icon. Make tax matters your priority number 1. Go to sars.gov.za. and say goodbye to queues. SARS, at your service.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
A disturbing rise in missing children reports during the first week of school holidays has prompted child protection advocates to issue an urgent call for increased vigilance during this time. Veronique Benji Williams, founder of Faith and Hope Missing Persons, and the rights organization Ilita Labantu are warning parents, caregivers, and communities to remain alert and proactive as children face increased vulnerability during this unstructured break. So let's speak to Veronique Benji Williams, who is founder of Faith and Hope Missing Persons. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So the call for increased vigilance during the school holidays suggests that this is a particularly vulnerable time for children going missing. Is it, and what makes it so?
Good morning, everybody. You know, for the first week of the school, when the school holidays started, we already had a few missing children under the age of 15. And you know that for me, it's a red flag already. And parents really and caregivers needs to be extra cautious and vigilant when the children is at home. So they need really to check and leave the children by caregivers that really is safe, because nowadays you can't even trust really caregivers to look after your children. You need to go the extra mile to do a background check on that person, because nowadays the perpetrator is someone who you know. Parents also need to be careful that when they send their children to the shops, that children mustn't go to the shop for strangers. They need to give permission when a child goes to the shop. Don't also let your child play alone in the park. Go check on your child, even if it's every 15 minutes, checking on the child when the child is outside. Also know who your children's friend is. Know in what environment your child is playing. Interact with your child. Interact with your child's friend. Know your child's friend's phone number. Know your child's phone number, because we have a lot of incidents where it is that parents don't know their children's phone numbers or WhatsApp numbers or who their children's friend is. So the community really, parents need to know the whereabouts of the children, because I'm telling you, when it comes to 0 to 12 or 13 years old, that is an emergency for when a minor goes missing. And you know, we act immediately. The moment we receive a call from a minor, we act immediately, because there's no waiting period in a missing person.
Yes.
Parents don't go to the police. If you go to the police station and the police officers tell you, listen, you must wait 24 hours or 48 hours, you tell that police officer there is no waiting period. If he don't want to help you, you ask the shift commander. If the shift commander don't want to help you, you ask who's the station commander, or go to another police station and open a missing person report. They can't chase you away. They must open a missing report immediately. And please take their names, because this is what sometimes what the stations is doing, sending the parents away. And you know, the extra 5 minutes or extra hour is already crucial, especially when it's a minor. Then we get the teenagers. Sorry?
No, I'm saying that's critical time lost, that extra 5 minutes.
Yes, then we get the teenagers that goes missing. You know, you get the runaway that's missing, and then you get the child that is unhappy at home, that wants to be out on the street. But the runaways always when they go with friends or partying with friends, because they don't want to obey rules in the house, you see. But parents also, you need to be strict with your child, because there's rules and regulations in the house. You must put your foot down.
Veronique?
Because,
because of time, I have to leave it there. But I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That is
pleasure, my dear.
Veronique Benji Williams, who is founder of Faith and Hope Missing Persons. Let's go straight to N Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
In our top stories, DA reacts to Ramaphosa's decisions following Mkwanazi's allegations, and ECOWAS pays tribute to Buhari. Good morning. DA leader John Steenhuisen says members of the Government of National Unity were not consulted on President Cyril Ramaphosa's decisions following allegations that criminal syndicates have infiltrated law enforcement agencies. Ramaphosa has established a Judicial Commission of Inquiry to investigate the allegations KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkwanazi has made. Mkwanazi says senior police officials, including the Minister Senzo Mchunu, are corrupt, have links to criminal syndicates and interfere in police operations. Steenhuisen says South Africans are tired of commissions of inquiry.
I think South Africans have grown somewhat sceptical of commissions of inquiry. We're now almost 2 years down the track from the release of the Zondo Commission report without a single high-profile conviction. And so I think the President's made the right step this evening with the suspension. But the other question that remains unanswered is around the others in the Cabinet who have very, very serious charges hanging over their heads, but who remain in their positions. And I think a lot of South Africans are going to be asking themselves this evening, what is now the new measure that is used to determine whether people remain in the cabinet? Many South Africans are asking themselves the questions about Ministers Mkhwebane and Simelane.
The Commission of Inquiry established by President Ramaphosa will investigate allegations related to criminal syndicates, infiltration of institutions in the criminal justice system. He addressed the nation last night.
Among the allegations that the Commission may investigate are the facilitation of organized crime, suppression or manipulation of investigations, inducement into criminal actions by law enforcement leadership, commission of any other criminal offences, and intimidation, victimization or targeted removal of whistleblowers or officials that are resisting criminal influence.
President Ramaphosa has since placed Mchunu on leave of absence. The President has also appointed lawyer and politician Professor Feroz Kachalia to act as police minister with effect from the 1st of next month.
I'm appointing Professor Kachalia in terms of Section 91(3) subsection C of the Constitution, which empowers the Constitution to select no more than 2 ministers from outside the National Assembly. Professor Kachalia will be retiring from his current position at the University of Witwatersrand at the end of July this year.
Small-scale fishers are expected to hold peaceful marches in the Langebaan area in the Western Cape today. Their demands include the recognition of bona fide traditional fishers, the support of local fisher families with economic upliftment, and an end to corruption and exclusion in the allocation of fishing rights. Chief of the West Coast Kuchuku tribe, Carmen Rogers.
We are only here to support the fishermen in their cry for government. I mean, this is part of our culture, and the culture is busy dying out because of the quota system, all the red tape. People are struggling, and this is the only livelihood that they know. And yeah, so we came together as a community, all activists. We all invited political parties, organizations. Everybody's welcome to come and join in the fight for the minister to give our fisher community a hearing.
And finally, the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, has described the late former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari as a distinguished statesman. However, Nigerians have divided views of the former president who died yesterday at a clinic in London at the age of 82. Buhari first ruled briefly in the 1980s, then made history in 2015 as the first opposition candidate to defeat an incumbent president. He went on to win another term. Kailihle Kumalo has more.
Former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari entered politics in 2003 after the West African country's return to democratic dispensation in 1999. He won the elections in 2015 and positioned himself as an incorruptible leader who was driven by a desire to see change in Nigeria. Buhari joined the Nigerian army in 1961. The military coup in 1983 led to the emergence of General Buhari as head of state. He once served as executive chairman of the Petroleum Trust Fund in 1994.
Recapping the top story, DA leader John Steenhuisen says members of the Government of National Unity were not consulted on President Cyril Ramaphosa's decisions following allegations that criminal syndicates have infiltrated law enforcement agencies. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
Here's some breaking news you might have missed. Gordon, a 44-year-old man, switched to Outsurance and now saves an unbelievable 2,794 Rand a month on his 2019 Ford Everest 2-litre automatic. Outsurance clients always get something out. Get a quote today and see how much Outsurance could save you on your car insurance. Call 08 600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. You always get something out. Licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. It is soccer action. Chelsea crowned the Club World Cup champions, and we'll also bring you the Junior Springboks. They're ready for Argentina. It's a test tonight, coming up just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Update on Etwatwa, Ekurhuleni side east of Gauteng. The protesting around the main exit to Etwatwa has been cleared. SAPs are there. The road has been reopened. The big backlog is eased. There is a bit of traffic trouble, though, around some protesting on Laris Road that goes from the N12 in and out of Etwatwa, so you may still have to divert there. Crash on Pomona Road, quite a big one, coming from Bradell down to the R21. That's heavy. And the R21 South, the roadworks this morning, down by the Benoni exit. That's a big delay from Tembisa. If you're airport bound, make sure you've got plenty of time to get through there. Earlier crash after Winnie Mandela has been cleared. The N1 North up to Rivonia stays pretty heavily backed up. Durban, just a reminder, Stapleton Road opened last week, so if you're going in or out of Pinetown, you can use Stapleton Road again, and that's eased up a lot of the pressure that we've seen recently on the M7. Durban's N2 standing from the M7 up through Westwood Mall. That's looking pretty busy. And Cape Town, quite a long queue on the N7 northbound, passing Langa up towards Viking Way in Epping, and the R300, a crash at Hindle Road, causing delays through Delft on your way towards Belleville. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 7 on this Monday. It is great to be in your company. We are into the second hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Here's some of what we will cover in this hour. We had that fellow South Africans moment, the president speaking at the podium at the Union Buildings in the media briefing room. That is the east wing of the Union Buildings. Of course, the presidency is the west wing. Addressing South Africans and talking about the serious allegations made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi against a number of people within law enforcement and generally the criminal justice system. Key among them, the Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, the president announcing that there will be a judicial commission of inquiry that will be led by the acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga, who is headed for retirement and therefore will be picking up this mantle of helping us to try to get to the bottom of these allegations of collusion with criminal syndicates by a variety of officials from the minister downwards, including officials that are mentioned in the allegations from the SAPS, from Department of Correctional Services, somewhere in the within the prosecutorial system, that is the NPA, some prosecutors, some members of the judiciary, and perhaps the magistracy, Johannesburg Metro Police Department and Eguruleni Metro Police Department. So in this hour, what we will do is get the reactions of Gareth Newham from the Institute for Security Studies, but also we'll then talk to Professor William Gumede to get his reaction and analysis of that particular story. And of course, towards the end of this hour, I will take you through this discussion around the use of AI, particularly in the legal fraternity. There's been yet another case where AI hallucinations led to counsel citing case law to support their case, a case law that simply does not exist. So it's led to a professional debate within the legal professions, but also at the same time, the Law Society of South Africa warning that legal practitioners remain responsible for their work and may be held accountable if they do present these AI hallucinations. We will be in conversation with Aziz Ismail, who is the chairperson of the Johannesburg Attorneys Association, talking to us on behalf of the Law Society of South Africa, and that's coming up at about 10 to 8. In it all, I want to hear from you. I'd like to hear from you, want to hear your voice. The number to dial is 086 000 2032. Let me say it a bit slower. 086 000 2032. Please send me WhatsApp voice notes to 061 410 4107. Let's get the second hour of the morning brief underway.
My name is Amukhelang Mutau, Banyana midfielder. What I love about SABC Sport, you guys have managed to capture women's football stories because I think documentation is important.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
SABC Sport brings you Chasing the Sun, a powerful 5-part documentary series about the Springboks telling the rousing tale of their path to redemption and ultimate World Cup glory in 2019. Starting on the 13th of July at 7:30 p.m. on SABC2, tune in every Sunday for the highs, the heartache, the heroics that made rugby history. Stream each chapter on SABC Plus anytime, anywhere. No subscription needed. Don't miss Chasing the Sun this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. on SABC2. Be there when history shines.
This is Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
14 minutes after 7. Let's start with that big story then of the day. President Cyril Ramaphosa placing the embattled police minister Senzo Mchunu on special leave of absence from his duties while a judicial commission of inquiry investigates the serious allegations of malfeasance that the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has made against Mchunu and others. The president announcing last night that acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga will head up the commission of inquiry to probe the allegations across various state institutions such as law enforcement agencies, intelligence, and other bodies within the criminal justice system. The president also, it would seem, attempting to address the urgency with which many South Africans want these allegations attended to by ordering that the commission will have the power to refer matters for immediate criminal investigation and urgent decisions on prosecution where necessary. So let's speak to Gareth Newham, who is Head of Justice and Violence Prevention at the Institute for Security Studies. Gareth, good morning and thank you for your time. So a commission of inquiry, and already I'm seeing the headline saying yet another commission of inquiry. Just tell me about your thinking about the appropriateness of a judicial commission of inquiry in handling these allegations, spanning as they do various agencies within the state that are charged with the criminal justice system.
Yes, good morning. It really will depend on how tightly run the commission of inquiry is, because if it doesn't become very clear about what its specific scope and mandate is, it is likely to drag on. So we have had various commissions of inquiry into the South African Police Service. We remember the Marikana Commission. There's a Khayelitsha Commission of inquiry into breakdown in policing, community relations. There's a panel of experts that spent 2 years looking at the police and crowd management. So in many ways, this commission could really look at all those commissions first. There's all the recommendations that came up. And then one of the questions could be, why are you not implementing these recommendations? Because if those recommendations had been implemented, including the recommendations from the National Development Plan, we probably wouldn't need this commission of inquiry. So I think it's important for this commission of inquiry to find out what needs to happen to ensure that recommendations aimed at improving policing, dealing with corruption, dealing with issues of political interference and so forth are effectively implemented after being taken seriously.
Given what you just said, does this commission have its work cut out for it in trying to ensure that it's not bogged down with the level of detail that goes back into all of those commissions you cited? And I can add to that the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, because it also touched on law enforcement and the weakening of various agencies, so that it doesn't get bogged down in that, but at the same time it's able to address the pertinently raised allegations that have to do with these specific individuals and institutions mentioned in this instance.
Yes, I think it will have to prioritize. So first of all, it will have to look at the specific allegations made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi last weekend, because that was the start of all of this, and that is why we have a commission inquiry. So they need to immediately get on top of those allegations, test the evidence, the claims, get the responses from the minister and those involved and implicated, and come up with very clear findings quite quickly. I think the president has given them 3 months for the initial report. And then following that, looking at why does this keep happening? Why do we keep on seeing problems with crime intelligence, issues to do with political interference? To what extent is organized crime infiltrating the police and other law enforcement agencies? And what can be done to stop this from happening? So it'll have to phase its work, and it'll have to be very, as I say, tightly managed, very focused, not get too bogged down, but get enough information and assess the claims and veracity of it so that they can make relatively quick recommendations. We can't really afford for this to go on for too long.
What will make this commission succeed where the ones you mentioned have not succeeded? And by succeeding, I don't mean the work of the commission itself, but the outcome being decisive in fixing law enforcement. I mean, Gareth, you laid it out quite nicely and reminded us, for instance, the Falam Commission that probed Marikana also had findings on law enforcement. There's been that, high-level panel on state security agency and other intelligence agencies. So what will be different this time? And are you confident that it will be different this time, that the outcomes will be implemented and lead to consequence management?
Yes, well, first of all, the president has to take the recommendations seriously and believe that they are important to implement. But I think more than that, what will make a difference is if you have a very specific structure dedicated to making sure that these recommendations are implemented. So once the Commission Inquiry comes up with specific recommendations, these must be handed to the relevant bodies, whether it's the SAPS, the MPA or others, to take action. And then we need another independent structure, and this could be Parliament, could be the Police Portfolio Committee, who rigorously oversees the implementation. So they must demand a very clear implementation plan, very clear steps and timelines, who's responsible for doing what, and then track those recommendations implementation very closely and put pressure on relevant bodies and people to make sure that these things are implemented. Because what typically happens is we get the Commission Inquiry report, it goes to the President, sometimes it puts on the President's desk for months, no one knows what the report says. By the time the recommendations come out, there's a whole lot of other issues that are occupying the minds of the various organizations, leadership that have to deal with these things. And there's no real proper follow-up and rigorous monitoring of the implementation. So that needs to change.
All right. Let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Gareth Newham is Head of Justice and Violence Prevention at the Institute for Security Studies. Listening to all of that is Professor William Gumede, who is founder and executive chair of Democracy Works Foundation, as well as professor at the Wits School of Governance. Prof, good morning and thank you for your time. Was it almost inevitable that the president was going to have to go in this route, the route of a commission of inquiry? Was there no other way around it, as fatigued as South Africans are of commissions of inquiry? All right, Professor Kumete, let me ask you to hold for a second. I don't know what's happening. All right, I've got you now. Please, I was asking, was this inevitable that there was no other way around it, or did the president have other options and chose the easy one out?
Good morning, and good morning to your listeners, and thank you for having me on board. I think most South Africans most probably are totally fatigued about commissions of inquiries, because we've seen it as your the interviewer was just saying how many commissions that we've had, but very, very little or very few of recommendations of any commissions have been implemented in the past. I myself, for example, have been on many task teams also, and I can tell you since 2009, very, very few or almost none of recommendations are implemented and so on. And I think that really is the issue now. Will this be any different from previous commissions? Because the reason why we are here now is the fact that the recommendations of previous commissions were not implemented. That is why we are here now at another commission. And secondly, to me, is we have to look at this as whistleblowing, and that General Makhonazi is certainly possibly a very high profile whistleblower. And we've also seen in the past what's happened with whistleblowers. Either you are ignored and many people are killed. So these are the two things. And myself, I am quite fatigued just on whether there is going to be any implementation. What is different, though, I must say, now, is that we've got a government of national unity now. This is different, which just means, it gives the space for the first time for people actually to come out. And secondly, so there is much more accountability structures. Just the government of national unity itself, and also the opposition parties now, EFF, MK, and so on. Whatever one views are of them, they are much more proactive as opposition in Parliament now. So maybe that that is different now. That was not there before. In the past, the reason why commissions of inquiries, their recommendations were not implemented in the past is because the ANC was a majority party, and it could just solve the recommendations, put it aside and just continue the government. So now it is different.
Yes. So having said what you just said, how important is it that Parliament, the Portfolio Committee on Police, through its chairperson, Ian Cameron, has indicated that they note what the President has announced, but their parliamentary inquiry, whatever form it takes, they still intend to proceed with that. How important is that it runs parallel, or is it duplication of work?
No. It is very, very important that Parliament has its own inquiry. Remember, Parliament is supposed to be the oversight structure over the executive. And here we're talking about the executive member here, the Minister of Police. He's an executive member. So Parliament must continue with its own inquiry. I don't think it's a duplication, and they must move as quickly as possible because, up to now, it has been the precedent that, fire people or discipline people. But, Parliament has the power also if you're an executive member. So that is, I think Parliament must be proactive. Also, in the past, the reasons why the commissions of inquiries recommendations have not been implemented is that Parliament also has never followed up and never monitored the implementation of findings. We just think about the Zondo Commission. If the Zondo Commission's recommendations have been implemented, and if Parliament has been monitoring it and putting the pressure on the implementation, we would not have been here with this issue now. So it's going to be very, very important that Parliament actually does their own investigation and that they act, even if the President doesn't do that.
As far as responding to calls for accountability within the executive, what do you make of the President's handling of that particular aspect, the placing on leave of absence of Senzo Mchunu and the coming in of your colleague there at Wits University, Professor Firoz Kachale?
I mean, it is good that he replaces the minister. I mean, it should not be just special leave. It should be, firing. Remember, just a couple of weeks ago, the deputy minister of trade, the DA minister, was fired for. I mean, for something that it's not fireable. I mean, he himself possibly was a whistleblower. I mean, I don't have all of the facts, but possibly talking out on the lottery, controversial lottery deal. There, the president acted very, very quickly with no inquiry. The person was just fired, and that again is a whistleblower. I mean, this is incorrectly fired. You don't fire a person who whistleblow or speak out. So coming back to the minister, I mean, the allegations are so damning, and there was no way that the president could have kept the police minister in that position. I would even have suggested that the president actually fire him rather than just putting him on special leave.
All right. Thank you for that. That's William Kumete, who is founder and executive chair of Democracy Works Foundation, also a professor at the Wits School of Governance.
Champions need motivation above and beyond winning. South Africa, show your love and support for the WAFCON defending champions Banyana Banyana. Witness the Caps Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025 on SABC Plus, S3, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
OUTsurance made it possible for us to travel more with the money that we save. 725. This is really real.
You are the biggest saver we've ever had.
2,794 Rand a month. It was the easiest switch ever. Get real.
How is it that OUTsurance provided the solution for you?
918 Rand is what I'm saving.
Incredible. Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands.
Just phone OUTsurance, get a quote and see what they can offer you. If you don't save that 321 like I did, you might say get a 500 or $1,000 back. Service and savings, you'll always get something out.
What was the real deal they could offer you?
870.
That's amazing. What brought you and OUTsurance together?
718 Rand. I end up saving.
They gave you the real deal.
It literally is the real deal.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and information online.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning to you. Tell the listeners what I'm doing right now. What am I doing?
It's a Cole Palmer celebration. It's ice cold. Oh, wow, Thulas. That's how we are going with the stories today for sport. There's only one story that Thulas cares about, and that's Chelsea. And their 3-0 victory over Paris Saint-Germain, earning them the world champion badge and definitely igniting a party at Stamford Bridge and igniting a party here at SAFM. Chelsea lifting the inaugural 32-team Club World Cup title. And they capped a season that also saw them win the UEFA Conference League and finish 4th in the Premier League. Now the African champions, Banyana Banyana, they are through to the WAFCON 2025 quarterfinals without kicking a ball. South Africa's progression confirmed after Group A wrapped up with Morocco and Zambia both winning 1-0 to seal their spots and eliminate DR Congo. Banyana now turn their focus to tonight's clash with Mali, which will decide who tops Group C and potentially avoid a quarterfinal opponent like Nigeria or Morocco. Rugby Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus has thrown his support behind the number 8 Jasper Visser, who was sent off early in the match during South Africa's 45-0 win over Italy in Gqeberha. Erasmus confirmed that Visser's red card forced an early tactical switch in the front row, with Thomas du Toit being replaced by Oxen Chair as loose head prop. He explained that the decision was part of the team's plan.
Yeah, well, the moment Thomas is a guy that can play both sides, but loose head and tight head. Sometimes we believe Thomas is better tight head than loose head, but then sometimes he proves us totally wrong and he does better on the loose head side. So We usually on a loosehead side, but when we were down to 14 men, when we got a permanent red card, we needed, in our opinion, somebody that's a full-blown loosehead that can handle the pressure of 8 guys scrumming versus 7, and we just felt Ox is very equipped for that.
More rugby. The junior Springboks face Los Pumitas tonight at 8:30 in Italy for a spot in the Under-20 Championship final. South Africa topped their group with wins over Australia, England and Scotland, while Argentina quietly secured their semi-final place. And finally, Wimbledon, the world number 1, Yannick Sinner, has won his first Wimbledon title by wearing down Carlos Alcaraz in the Grand Slam final 4-6, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4. We'll be back serving up sport top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, Police Minister Senzo Mchunu who has denied corruption allegations against him, says he accepts and supports President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to place him on leave of absence. DA leader John Steenhuisen says members of the Government of National Unity were not consulted on President Ramaphosa's decisions following allegations that criminal syndicates have infiltrated law enforcement agencies. And Donald Trump says the U.S. will send Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine just 2 weeks after Washington said it would pause some arms deliveries to Kyiv. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Traffic is still moving through at Twatwa now. It was all blocked up earlier with protesting around Lara Street, which is the main sort of in and out from Twatwa. But SAPs have arrived, Ekurhuleni Metro arriving, clearing the road, clearing the protest, and the route is flowing. It is busy staying east with a crash on the N12, Joburg bound at Atlas Road. That's a delay back to Tom Jones. And there's very heavy backlogging on the R21. There's roadworks down towards the Benoni exit this morning on your way towards the airport. And that's a big queue from Tembisa. There's also a crash on the northbound side, which is having a minor impact, but it may also just be adding to those delays going south due to the onlooking factor. Just off the highway, the Pomona Road from Bradell down towards the R21. There's a crash there causing some delays as well. N1 Bayersdorp up to Rivonia, probably busier than you'd like this morning. N14, you're going to be queuing, moving from the R55 Pretoria West exit on your way to Pretoria. Big queues on that Krugersdorp Highway up to Brockfontein interchange. Durban, you can see it's school holidays there. The only real standout is the N2 going north into the roadworks at Westwood Mall. That traffic's heavy from the M7 highway exit. The rest of Durban looking fairly doable this morning. And Cape Town, fairly light conditions as well. Just a couple of standout queues. One is a crash on the R300 at Hindle Road. All lanes are open, but that traffic coming off the N2 up through Delft towards Kales River remains badly backed up. N7, Jakes Curville Drive, jam-packed from Langa up to Epping this morning. And the M5 is reasonably slow, but only really from the N2 up in towards the Kuburg interchange territory. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Dowling, good morning to you. Tell me about MAS. Do you pronounce it MAS or do you say MAS? Tell me about them and their shareholders voting against asset sales.
So you pronounce it as MAS, just
Okay.
MAS.
Sure.
They are a property company with assets over in Europe, but listed on the JSE. They've been under the spotlight recently because there's been a bit of a bidding war for the company's assets, with one of its biggest shareholders, PKI, submitting a bid to acquire further shares in the group, as well as another local property player, Hyprop, also submitting a bid to buy the company. Now, there seems to be some butting of heads as MAS shareholders rejected 2 resolutions proposed by its major shareholder, PK Investments, at a special meeting, with over 50% voting against the plans. Now, the resolutions included a 5-year asset realization plan and special dividends, part of PKI's enhanced value unlock strategy, aimed at selling off MAS's assets and returning the net proceeds to shareholders. Despite PKI owning over more than 20% of MAS's shares, the board took a neutral stance, emphasizing that any asset sales would depend on its judgment, market conditions, and legal requirements. Following the vote, PKI indicated it would proceed with a voluntary offer to acquire all MAS shares it does not already hold, although no formal bid has been made. Meanwhile, Hyprop, as mentioned, has expressed interest in making a competing bid for MAS, having raised 808 million rands via a book build last month. Now, if the deal doesn't go through, Hyprop plans to use the funds to reduce debt and support growth initiatives.
And in other company news, tell me about Accelerate moving ahead with their plans for a rights offer.
The property group is going back to shareholders cap in hand as it pushes forward with 100 million rands rights offer to raise capital for working purposes and to support the revamp of Fourways Mall, and this despite uncertainty surrounding a settlement agreement with the co-owner of Fourways Mall, Azrapat. Now, the agreement, which could impact the recoverability of 800 million rands in related party receivables, remains unresolved due to unmet suspensive conditions. Negotiations between Accelerate and Azrapat are ongoing, but Accelerate warns that the receivables might be fully impaired in their next financial results if an agreement isn't finalized. Now, the rights offer is part of Accelerate's restructuring plans, which include turning around Fourways malls through a 400 million rand renovation. The revamp aims to reduce vacancies and boost trading conditions. Now, this will be Accelerate's second rights offer in just over 12 months. Last year in June, the company raised 200 million rands.
Right, darling, please give us another recap of market activity.
Kicking things off in Asia, markets starting the week off on a strong note, shrugging off tariff uncertainties and cheering a recovery in Chinese trade data, with exports rising 7.2% last month. The Shanghai Composite leading the gains on that front, up close to 0.4%. The mood quite different in Wall Street, with futures in the red following President Trump's latest tariff announcement, putting Mexico and the EU in the firing line. Traders are assessing that and looking ahead to earnings season, with banks Q2 results in focus this week. Coming back home, the JSE taking a knock at the end of last week, with the all shares shedding 0.15%. The rand also caught up in the downbeat mood. On the back foot this morning, it's at 17.94 to the dollar.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that. That's Ndauling Lechela. She'll be back with one more update for you, and that will be coming up just after 8:30, in which update, of course, she will also give you a sense of what you can expect in the markets on this Monday. Let me move straight to taking one or two of your voice messages, as well as some of the messages that you've sent through. In fact, let me read one or two. So someone here says, this is Yazonda in Soweto, says, I'm going to read the greeting because I like it. Morning, Baba Simelane. Yeah, like that's the part. Then goes on to say, so this Sibia guy is still hiding behind the badge. That's a question. If yes, I don't understand, because I believe he's worse than Mkhunu. And in isiZulu then says, umanaphanapa izono, in inverted commas there. I don't even know how to translate that, but basically the allegation that Yazonda is making is that Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibia is in a worse position than the minister as far as Yazonda is concerned, and wondering why he is, according to him, still hiding behind the badge. Yazonda, part of the tricky part of it is that I believe that the National Commissioner reports directly to the President, right? But the commissioners, such as provincial commissioners and the deputy national commissioners, they report to the National Police Commissioner. I believe that's the technicality. So if any decision is to be made about what happens with Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibia, while the investigation is ongoing, I believe that decision, if I'm correct, I could be wrong, I speak under guidance and perhaps, I stand to be corrected. That decision would lie with the National Police Commissioner, Fanny Masemola. Let me read another message before going to the calls very quickly. Someone says, can somebody please tell us what's the problem with the DA? The president did what they and so many others wanted. Now they are complaining about not being consulted. What do they really want? Says Eldri Blow in George. Well, Eldri, part of the story, the way I understand it, is that the presidency has made an assertion that the president consulted with the parties in the government of national unity. So I believe that's the context for the DA saying that we were not consulted, if I understood it correctly. I think the assertion came through Vincent Magwenya, who speaks on behalf of the president, that there was consultation between the GNU partners. So I think that's part of the context why you are seeing that statement coming through from the DA. Let me take some calls. Let me go to Michael in Durban. Good morning to you, Michael. You want to talk to me about Minister Senzo Mchunu?
Yesterday, I want to say, I don't know why they give Minister Mchunu special leave instead of suspension, because especially someone goes and sits at home with the whole package, and there is this 9 months period that someone will be just enjoying all the benefits for a period of 9 months if you look at the time frame for this new commission. So now it's just another waste of our resources that are just going down the drain. And then you appoint and somebody who has to now package and give her package in terms of the salary. So it doesn't make any sense to us. You're supposed to suspend this person. If you suspend, if it's without a pay, and then the person goes home, and then you do investigation. Two, in this commission, if you remember the vessel that docked in Western Cape with a full load of arms that there was suspicion they're going to Russia, we never got a report. Till today, nobody know what the content of the report. The investigation was done, and after they said no, the information is classified.
Yeah.
You can't share. So now the money was spent. Yes. What was the purpose of spending all of those resources, and then later the public doesn't know? Because there was also a public outcry. Same thing will happen with this one. A commission is appointed, but when the outcome is out, everything goes quiet again.
Michael, thank you for that. Let me move on. Thank you. I think I've gotten the point you are making. That's Michael there in Durban. Of course, part of what the president has assured is that this commission will be transparent. So hopefully it will be different, Michael, from the one into the Lady R saga that you were alluding to just a few moments ago. Mtandegi in KZN, good morning. Also on the issue of Police Minister Senzo Mchunu.
Yes, Tulas, I'm not from KZN, I'm from Kronstadt.
Yes, my apologies.
I don't know.
No, it's me. I completely got. It's right before my eyes. I don't know how I read it so differently.
No. I'm aware of my name. Yeah. Okay. Listen, Thulasizwe. Firstly, Thulasizwe, thanks for your clarity in the limited explanation you gave. So far, the accountability line of the provincial commissioners vis-a-vis their accountability.
Yes.
You provide very well.
Thank
you. The decision by the president, in a very noble mind of any person understanding our law in the country, is the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, I think the opposition, especially DA, remember when the Deputy Minister of Economic Cluster was fired by the president?
Yes.
The very same Steenhuisen came out publicly that he was not consulted. When the president presented facts, it exposed him.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, he is politicizing the situation. Finally, I'm very concerned about this question of some professional people or political analysts. Over the weekend, Professor Breakfast said, we, referring to whatever decision the president will be making, must be satisfy us, we. Who is we as a professor? You should be talking from your own understanding individually, because that things are concerned. Finally, this kind of some of the statements uttered on the radio to us, uncontested or not clarified by yourselves, journalists.
Yeah.
I'm coming to make a point, very wrong, but we continue entertaining them. It's happening through different programs.
Sure.
please talk to your fellow colleagues.
Gotcha.
Correct part of the motto of SABC, you educate.
Yeah, gotcha. Tandek, thank you. We always endeavor to do that, particularly where you have that information at hand, right? And also from your own experience, that what this contention that is being made by whomever you are interviewing, you have a responsibility to call it out when they are making incorrect assertions. But thank you for that reminder. Bonagele in Kayalicha, also on the same topic. Good morning to you.
A very good morning, Thulas. In fact, we're speaking to someone who actually predicted the decision that was going to be made by the president.
You called it.
And it actually, yes, absolutely. And it actually makes me happy. I'm amongst those who are very happy with the decision made by the president. For all those who thought the president will dismiss or expel minister, shame to them. That decision actually shows that the president made his mind, he applied his mind very correctly. And for DA, I don't understand or probably confused if they still regard themselves as part of the government of national unity. Because whatever that comes up with this, on this government national unity, they're opposing each and every time. I mean, I cannot really understand up to this far. They still in that national government of national unity when they keep on opposing. That's my thing.
Thank you, Bonagele. Thank you for that. In fact, while you talk about the DA, I do need to read this message from Tami in Springfontein, who absolutely correctly points out that in as far as the issue of consultation, Vincent Magwenya, the president's spokesperson, said the president consulted with some, and Tami writing that some in all caps, with some of the parties in the GNU whom the president could get hold of. That is from Tami in Springfontein, and you're absolutely right, Tami. It was qualified as some. So, I suppose that's the context for the DA saying that they were not consulted in this whole process. Karabo in Tsanin, good morning to you.
Good morning, Thulas.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
Thulas.
Yeah.
I'll comment on this commission of inquiry of the president.
Yes.
To me, Thulas, according to me, the president is just playing some delaying tactics, Thulas, because to me, this commission of inquiry, Thulas, is gonna drag on like for more than 5 months. Like if they are highly capable to investigate high-profile crimes, 3 months is a very long time to investigate. It's a very long time to
What in your mind would have been the alternative, Karabo? And I appreciate the need for these issues to be dealt with expeditiously. These are the kind of allegations you don't want to have lingering in the air, in the climate, for too long. What would have been the alternative given how complex and the gravity of the allegations?
No, Thulas, I think that this commission of inquiry, yes, made the right decision. But to me, like 3 months to investigate Thulas, it's way too long, Thulas. Because, like, if to me, it seems like the president doubts General Mkwana's investigation skills, Thulas. Because he once said that he trusts the SAPS. So right now he says he needs the commission of inquiry to investigate further. So Thulas, it seems like
I hear you. Thank you. I hear you, Karabo. The words fail you from time to time. But I mean, I get the sense. It's a sense that many South Africans have of sheer fatigue with processes such as commissions of inquiry. And in your case, just talking about the length of time that has been allowed for that. Thank you for that. I'll come back to your calls and WhatsApp and voice notes a bit later on.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
R21 coming out of Pretoria for those flight connections to the airport is heavy this morning. It's changeable roadworks almost on a day-to-day basis. Really worth checking in before you travel. This morning it's probably pretty close to about a 30-minute delay to get from Tembisa through the work zones right down to the right down to about the R23 Benoni exit until you emerge from the works. Mike 1 from Boyson's moving up towards Houghton is pretty heavy. If you're on your way to Santon, that's an unusual queue. The N1 from Bayers Nordia to Ravonia, very busy. Big queues on the N14, the Krugersdorp Highway. If you're heading to Pretoria, expect to sit between the R55 exit and the Bruckfontein interchange this morning. Crossing to Durban, the N2 North has been jammed up again through the works at Westwood Mall. Still fairly heavy from about the M7 highway as you get up through Spaghetti Junction, slow on your way to Mgena Road. M13 leaving Pinetown's quite a heavy queue down towards the N3 joint at Paradise Valley. And the earlier crash coming out of Pietermaritzburg just after Market Road's being cleared. Also cleared is Cape Town's collision on the R300 North at Hindle Road in the Delft area. That traffic starting to move through. The N1 inbound through towards Brackenfell. That's a touch on the slow side. The M5 North to Coburg interchange is busy, but you'll only really sort of pick up that queue from about the N2 highway and the N7 Jakes Curvell Drive. That's been jam-packed this morning. Still very slow moving north into the Viking Way Junction. That's on your way slowly through Epping towards Goodwood. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
WAFCON reigning champions Banyana believe they can deliver 3 points to the people of the South. Meanwhile, the West Africans Mali have a big task to wrap up their run in Group C with a win. This is the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024. South Africa tackles Mali on Monday 14 July at 9 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and S3. Also available on SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
They all believe they will be crowned champions, but gold medallions are reserved for the best of them all. It is the incredible clash of the 12 African women's national teams. Catch all the 24 matches of the CAF Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025 on SABC Plus, S3, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The Black Queens are chasing maximum points, but the Twiga Stars have a different plan about this contest. The continent is divided into two, the West and the East. This is the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024. Ghana versus Tanzania on Monday, 14 July at 8:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
All right, it's coming up to 6 minutes to 8 on this Monday morning. The legal profession is facing a growing challenge with the use of unverified AI-generated case law in court submissions and arguments, a problem serious enough to jeopardize legal careers and public trust in the justice system. So the Law Society of South Africa has issued a stern warning. Even unintentional use of bogus AI citations could lead to disciplinary action, suspension, or being struck off the roll. As global and local courts begin seeing more cases undermined by fabricated legal references, experts are urging attorneys to treat AI as a tool, not a substitute for due diligence. Let's speak to Azar Aziz Ismail, chairperson of the Johannesburg Attorneys Association, speaking to us on behalf of the Law Society of South Africa. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. How big a problem is this? I've seen just the two cases, the Mavundla case and the recent one that was before the court in the High Court in Johannesburg. But is the problem wider than we imagine it to be?
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me this morning. This is indeed a massive problem. For lawyers especially, there are multiple risks or issues that we need to consider when we use AI because it is there to help us. But as a legal profession, we have a huge duty to ensure that when we use it responsibly, appropriately, and ethically. But the key thing with any technology is to understand the technology. And unfortunately, lawyers are falling prey to this. You're correct that there are those two cases that you've seen, but before that, in South Africa, we've had another one. And this is a global issue. We've had Parker versus Forsyth, which happened at the magistrates court level, which was a bit of a pre-warning to us. And then earlier this year, we had the Mavundla judgment in KZN, which was quite really stern, and you could extrapolate quite ground rules for lawyers to follow. And then you've had recently, in the last few weeks, we've had the case of northbound processing, which was in Gauteng, which sort of just confirmed these issues around AI hallucinations, which is where the AI does not want to admit that it's incorrect or won't admit that it's incorrect, but tells you the world. And lawyers who use AI without verifying that information are creating a very dangerous system.
What's the allure of using AI in research? I know that it's quite intensive work to find case law and actually find and extract the principle that you want from that case law when you have to go through multiple cases, one case referring to another in a different division until you get a fuller picture. So what's the allure then for lawyers to want to do that?
You know, when you started your legal career especially, you spend hours and hours doing a lot of research, and you find that on a legal subject, there can be so much case law, but it's like finding a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
There's so many cases that's out there, and the allure of AI, it sort of helps guide you very quickly in a way that saves you time and helps you portray yourself really strongly, not only to the client, but to your court, to the court as well, on legal issues and principles, because not only can it help you find the case, it can help you extract key principles and understand the case in ways that you couldn't have imagined. So that allure is definitely there. But what we as lawyers need to be cognizant of is while it's strong in those identification of issues and finding resources, it also makes mistakes, and we can't blindly trust it because if we blindly trust AI, it could result in what we call misconduct, and that misconduct, professional misconduct, whether it's knowingly or unknowingly, is a serious offense within the legal profession.
In fact, say a bit more about that, because in the northbound case, there was an acceptance even by the judge that there was no intention to mislead on the part of the legal professionals, but still the cases had to be referred to the Legal Practice Council. What's the emerging consensus about how to deal with this, especially where the legal practitioner will say, I had no intention to mislead the court and to present a fabricated case. Does that absolve or does it help to mitigate the case against the legal practitioner?
Not at all. As lawyers, we've got a highest standard of duty of care, a duty of supervision, and duty to our clients, and not only to the clients, but to the court. I'm going to read you a brief extract from the Code of Conduct that legal practitioners are bound by. And this is in paragraph 57.1, which says that a legal practitioner shall take all reasonable steps to avoid directly or indirectly misleading a court or tribunal on any matter of fact or question of law. Right? So it's very specific in saying that you cannot mislead a court. So by using AI hallucinated inputs, you have not taken the step of verifying that it exists. And because you've not taken that step, you have conducted, you have misled the court, and therefore it's misconduct. So it's quite serious. And it's not only an interpretation in South Africa. So the northbound processing case also referred to English case law, and that English case law came to a very similar consensus to say that, you know what, these are serious offences that need to be dealt with through disciplinary conduct. So that's ultimately what's going to happen. The courts are not going to rule right now on what the next step is. They're simply referring the lawyers to disciplinary action, where the Legal Practice Council, who is the regulator, will then advise what the sanctions are on the lawyer.
I'm out of time, Azar, but just a quick answer for me, if you don't mind. When you look at the patterns that are emerging from these fabricated cases, what makes them convincing? Do they espouse the principles correctly, but just cite cases that just never occurred?
No, there's two things. It's either incorrectly cite cases that don't ever exist, or sometimes it's correct citations, but wrong interpretations. So lawyers need to check both.
All right. Thank you for your time this morning. That's Azar Aziz Ismail, who is chairperson of the Johannesburg Attorneys Association, speaking to us on behalf of the Law Society of South Africa. Let's go straight to N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
In our top stories, Police Minister accepts President Ramaphosa's special leave decision and US to send Patriot missiles to Ukraine. Good morning. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who's denied allegations against him, says he accepts and supports President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to place him on leave of absence. More than a week ago, the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, alleged senior police officials, including Mchunu, were corrupt, had links to criminal syndicates and interfered with police operations. In March, the minister was among the senior police officials that seized case files with information on political killings and effectively stopped investigations. Mchunu says he's ready to respond to the allegations against him. The DA has since laid criminal charges against him. Meanwhile, the DA leader John Steenhuisen says members of the Government of National Unity were not consulted on President Ramaphosa's decisions following allegations that criminal syndicates have infiltrated law enforcement agencies. Ramaphosa has established a judicial commission of inquiry to investigate the allegations. Steenhuisen says South Africans are tired of commissions of inquiry.
I think South Africans have grown somewhat sceptical of commissions of inquiry. We're now almost 2 years down the track from the release of the Zondo Commission report without a single high-profile conviction. And so I think the President's made the right step this evening with the suspension. But the other question that remains unanswered is around the others in the Cabinet who have very, very serious charges hanging over their heads, but who remain in their positions. And I think a lot of South Africans are going to be asking themselves this evening, what is now the new measure that is used to determine whether people remain in the cabinet? Many South Africans are asking themselves the questions about Ministers Mkhwanazi and Simelane.
Action SA leader Herman Mashaba agrees with Steenhuisen and accuses the president of indecisiveness.
The president really absolved himself from actually taking the responsibility, taking critical decisions on behalf of the people of South Africa. So he's now given this responsibility to outside forces. South Africans voted for this GNU, and we expect the president of the country to be someone who's going to make decisions on behalf of the people of South Africa. Unfortunately, we've got the president who's now given this responsibility to outside structures outside our constitutional framework.
The Forestry, Fisheries and Environment Department says it's making steady progress in handling vessels at 12 proclaimed fishing harbours in the Western Cape. The department's Minister Dion George says over 300 vessels are currently moored across the 12 proclaimed fishing harbours, which handled more than 1,000 last year. George says improvements have been made in safety, signage and infrastructure to support local fishing communities. This will improve access navigation and security at high-risk locations such as Saldanha and Perden Island. Donald Trump says the U.S. will send Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine just 2 weeks after Washington said it would pause some arms deliveries to Kyiv. The U.S. president says the missiles are necessary to defend Ukraine. Trump also says he will make a major statement on Russia today as he arrived at the Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. Reporters asked him whether he'd consider imposing sanctions on Moscow.
We're going to see what we will see. Okay, as you know, Europe has announced sanctions, but I am very disappointed with President Putin. I thought he was somebody that meant what he said, and he'll talk so beautifully, and then he'll bomb people at night. We don't like that.
Recapping the top story, Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who's denied corruption allegations against him, says he accepts and supports President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to place him on leave of absence. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
Outsurance made it possible for us to travel more with the money that we save. 725. This is really real.
You are the biggest saver we've ever had.
2,794 Rand a month. It was the easiest switch ever. Get real.
How is it that Outsurance provided the solution for you?
918 Rand is what I'm saving.
Incredible.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports headlines. Soccer action. Women's Africa Cup of Nations defending champions Banyana have a showdown with Mali tonight. And there's also another showdown with the Junior Springboks. They're hitting the semi-final road. It's a clash with Argentina. We'll build up to this and more just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. If you're driving up to Pretoria on the Krugersdorp Highway, coming through from Diepstad, quite a heavy backlog to work through this morning. This is the Krugersdorp Highway between the R55 exit and the Brockfontein interchange. That's a very heavy queue. R21 towards the roadworks being held up down towards the Benoni exit this morning. Queues from Tembisa as you line up into that. And the Mike 1 straight through Joburg from Boysons up to around sort of Glenhove Road in Melrose is heavy. Also Allendale Road coming out of Kleurkop and Klipfontein View on your way to Midrand. Some very heavy traffic there around the Carstenoff Clinic area. Durban's had a pretty decent run through the traffic this morning. There is a collision, though, on the M13 just around Paradise Valley. So leaving Pinetown, that traffic remains slow. And Cape Town, the N7 North Viking Way Junction on your way towards Goodwood. Busy. It is off its worst, but it is a bit slow. And the R300 crash at Delft going northbound has been cleared. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Good morning to you. Welcome to the third hour of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. It is great to be in your company this morning. Lots of issues in play this morning. Quite a number of the comments that are coming through have to do with the president's decisions that he took yesterday regarding the status of the Police Minister Senzo Mchunu while a Judicial Commission of Inquiry investigates the allegations that were made by the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, basically that amount to undermining the the criminal justice system, a collusion between certain individuals in the state, including the minister and at least one deputy national commissioner, and that is Shadrack Sibiya, with criminal syndicates. That's the allegation that the president wants investigated and has appointed acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga to head up that commission of inquiry. So let me read one or two of your messages then that have to do with that. Tulani Dasa in Cape Town talking about something that I think the EFF were first to raise immediately after the announcement, the appointment of Firoz Kachalia, my professor at Wits University, as acting acting Minister of Police. Thulani Dasa says Section 98, subsection 2 of the Constitution states that the President may assign the powers and functions of a cabinet member to another cabinet member when the first is absent or unable to perform their duties. Section 91.3, Section 91, subsection 3, paragraph C of the Constitution allows the President to appoint a maximum of 2 ministers from outside the National Assembly. Then goes on, Thulani goes on to say, President Ramaphosa may have violated the Constitution because Section 91, subsection 3, paragraph C that he used to appoint Firoz Kachalia says nothing about quote-unquote acting minister. That is covered under Section 98, subsection 2. Thulani Dasa there, citing sections for us this morning in terms of what the President has done. Thank you for that, Thulani. And then someone else here says, there are times that crypto analogy is required. In this matter of corruption within the internet work of judiciary, in inverted commas, such analysis is required to resolve that matter. That is Harry Kane who has sent that. Let me just read one more before proceeding to take your calls. All right, I do see that there are quite a number of messages. Okay, someone says here, I'm so defeated. Commissions have failed over and over again, but the President keeps bringing them back. The biggest issue right now is that the drug kingpins may be using their private jets and leaving the country while we are busy with this commission, which we don't know how long it will take and if whistleblowers will still be alive then. I can say this without fear of contradiction, that this commission will yield absolutely nothing, says Vugani Ngobo eThekwini. And so and on it goes. I will be taking your calls and your WhatsApp messages in a moment. Welcome to it, the third hour of the morning brief here on SAFM.
They all believe they will be crowned champions, but gold medallions are reserved for the best of them all. It is the incredible clash of the 12 African women's national teams. Catch all the 24 matches of the CAF Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025 on SABC Plus, S3, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
WAFCON reigning champions Banyana believe they can deliver 3 points to the people of the South. Meanwhile, the West Africans Mali have a big task to wrap up their run in Group C with a win. This is the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024. South Africa tackles Mali on Monday 14 July at 9 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and S3. Also available on SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Are you looking for the best savings on spectacles? At Specsavers, enjoy 1,500 Rand off when you get tested at South Africa's trusted and most established optical group. Get 1,500 Rand off all frames in store, or use your 1,500 Rand off on our leading lens enhancements, such as drive light lenses that reduce artificial glare whilst driving. Book online or call your nearest store today. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me start with this voice note that is in reaction to the conversation we had at the end of the last hour about the use of AI to source case law, the use by some legal practitioners that has resulted in some embarrassing moments where AI hallucinations led to, non-existent case law being cited.
Good morning, Thulasizwe and the listeners of SFM. Thulasizwe, when it comes to entertainment, yes, AI is good for fictional movies, but when it comes to the matters of the law, we can't use AI in the law because AI, firstly, it doesn't think, it doesn't know how to articulate information. It feeds on the information that is been given. It doesn't have emotion. And the other thing, congratulations for using Muti against PSD Grammar by Protect.
I don't know about using Muti. I don't know how you can. Listen, thank you for that. And that makes it even sweeter, doesn't it? As I speak, my Uber Eats app says picking up order. So the bubbles are coming. Don't worry, it's too early. It's non-alcoholic. We're not doing that this morning. Let me go to someone who wants to comment about the commissions of inquiry, the many, many commissions of inquiry we've had in this country.
Good morning, Thulasizwe and SAFM listeners. Mago Masagwe here in Ferengate. You know, Thulasizwe, from my observation, now of late, commissions are a way of hiding information because we know exactly that we'll never get anything from those commissions. You can name them from Falam Commission, Maritana Commission, Zondo Commissions. That's the way of hiding information and protecting politicians more. Thanks very much.
Yeah. And I don't blame you at all for that sentiment. And I think many will share this sentiment. And I think I've spoken about it and won't belabor the point that you end up with a situation where years from now, you're doing what we're doing with the TRC, having a commission of inquiry into why the recommendations of a commission of inquiry 30, 25 years ago were never implemented. And that really is simply unacceptable. Dikela in Queenstown, good morning to you. You want to talk to me about Minister Senzo Mchunu this morning?
Thulas. The president is saying this is a serious matter, as we all know it is. But I don't understand why is it taking an outsider, why there are two deputy ministers in the police.
Yeah.
So it drives down to me as really these deputy ministers are useless and just a waste of expenditure of the public money.
Yeah, I hear the point. I hear the point you're making, 100%, Dikela. Thank you for that. I suppose part of the argument could be that he wants the outsider's perspective. I don't know. He is allowed, of course, to bring in no more than two cabinet ministers from the outside. And perhaps what Professor Kachalia has going for him is that government experience in the past, having been an MEC in Gauteng, but also just understandings of the law, deep understandings of the law. And I should know, he taught me administrative law. Let me go to Alfred in Mpumalanga. Good morning to you, Alfred.
How's it?
Good, how's it?
Otherwise, one of the speakers has already taken my weight. But then, however,
yes, what's the point?
But then, however, we can't be seen rewarding criminal activities because the manner in which the president spoke, to me, it is clear, rewards these criminal activities because by merely introducing the commission on this matter, strategically, in one way, they are trying to manage these things. They are trying to diffuse. You see, I will take it, for instance, in the issue of state capture. People were implicated there. The like of Kotema Tache and others were implicated. But then they decided to manage us as South Africans through this commission.
Sure.
Nothing will happen, I'm telling you, to us.
Sure. Yeah.
Because those who are implicated are part of them. Are part of them. And for that reason, they'll try to find a way to manage all these things.
Yeah. All right, Alfred, thank you for that point. And I think you will hear that sentiment over and over again. People just, that sense of disillusionment, right? Disillusionment and the loss of trust that the right thing will be done ultimately after you've gone through the motions, after you've gone through this process of a commission of inquiry. Tabiso in Polokwane also weighing in on the same topic. Good morning.
Good morning, Thulas. Just basic. I'm not sure how good you are in bed, but I'm not going to mention that.
My brother, try me, try me there. A lot of the times I understand and not be able to speak.
there is a saying, let's why. Now, let me get to the point.
Yeah.
You remember the Nugent Commission, the one that investigated SARS.
Yes.
One of the most successful commissions.
Uh-huh.
You remember the State Capture Commission was not a commission of the president. It was a commission that was established based on the
findings
on the court.
Yeah.
The State Capture.
Yes.
The one which was headed by Zondo. Remember, the former president actually even refused up until he was forced by the court that the commission should be there, and that the former Chief Justice should appoint someone, and then he appointed Zondo.
Yes.
So now, the problem that we are dealing with now is that South Africans in the court of public opinion expect the president just to arrest, fire without due process, and it's not possible because you'll be creating a wrong precedent.
Yeah.
Here we are granted an opportunity by the president of this particular country so that everyone who feels that the police has done something untoward must go and bring evidence to that particular commission and say, this is the issue. This is the problem that I'm struggling with, and this is what because crime in this particular country is a problem. It's a very, very serious problem that all of us, including many other callers, we winch and winch in your show and many other shows. But now we've been given this particular opportunity to be able to clean the criminal justice system in this particular country. And we can't allow a situation where due process are not followed. Then the president just decides fire, arrest.
I hear you, Thabiso. I hear you, Thabiso. But I think many people don't have a problem with that aspect. The, inquisitive nature of a commission of inquiry, bring forth all evidence. I think the problem arises once the findings and recommendations have been made, and we all know what they are, but you never see real momentum in terms of implementing them.
Look.
All right. I think we've lost Thabiso there in Polokwane. That's Thabiso in Polokwane, but it's fine. I think we got enough of the point out of Thabiso. We'll take more of your calls and WhatsApp voice notes a bit later on.
They all believe they will be crowned champions, but gold medallions are reserved for the best of them all. It is the incredible clash of the 12 African women's national teams. Catch all the 24 matches of the Cap Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025 on SABC Plus, S3, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
It's all about fresh fish and vibrant flavors on the Tastemaster SA this Tuesday evening at 7:30 on SABC2 as our top four visit the Hout Bay Harbour for a crash course in seafood the old school way. Then reel in a gourmet seafood takeaway experience of their own. Who will sink and who will swim into the semi-finals? The Tastemaster SA, Tuesday evenings at 7:30, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. on SABC2.
Let me get this right, Ron. You're a plumber by day and Pretoria's smoothest wedding DJ by night.
Yeah. Started out as a passion and now I've got bookings until December. And a smoke machine that needs its own seatbelt.
And you sold your car to buy a van through We Buy Cars.
Brew, it was music to my ears. Zero admin, no long queues. They pulled in, checked it out, and before I knew it, I had cash in the bank.
Now that's a banger. We Buy Cars. Geared for your passion, geared for you.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
Let's talk a bit of sport. And no, not that sport you thought I was going to talk about, something completely different. In a commanding display of power, pace, and tactical ingenuity, the Springboks dismantled Italy 45-0 in Gqeberha to seal a 2-0 series win. Despite being reduced to 14 men after just 22 minutes and later to 13, South Africa turned in a ruthless first half performance and kept it with flashes of innovation that left fans and critics buzzing. So let's speak to Michael Abramson, sports commentator for the SABC, a sports commentator of long standing here at the SABC. Michael, thank you for your time. So let's talk about how it all unfolded then. 7 tries, a clean sheet. Was it that it just wasn't competitive on the part of Italy, or was it just the sheer dominance of the Springboks?
Firstly, Thulasizwe, thank you so much for having me on your show, and very good morning to all your listeners as well on SAFM. I think a combination of both. It was very important after last week's performance at Loftus that Rusty's side showed a statement effectively to the rugby public to say South Africa are back. Yes, we let it drift a little bit last week, weren't playing that well, particularly in the second half. The intensity dropped off. But this week they came out with a situation where they wanted to prove that they could do the job. Also, a lot of players in the starting lineup trying to impress the coach because they were given a chance this week with the wholesale changes that the coaching staff made for this particular lineup. So I think it was a combination of both. Italy never really getting into the game. They had 1 or 2 chances to kick at poles, which they declined because they were behind the 8 ball from very, very early on. But I think it was an innovative performance. It was a good performance. Still a work in progress, still things that need to be fixed. But I think South Africa can feel very, very happy with the way that they went on the field.
Talk about the innovation part of things. I heard on Radio 2000 on Rachel Makura's show, there was a bit of a buzz about this innovation that, the way I understand it, Rassi picked up while watching an under-14 game or something?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. I was actually doing commentary on Saturday for Radio 2000 on Rachel's show, and I heard some of those callers calling in and sharing their views. So what happened, firstly, 2 points to talk about in terms of innovation. One was at the kickoff, where South Africa deliberately infringed to force a scrum on the halfway line. And some are saying it should have been a penalty to Italy, but I think the ref got that right. It wasn't a penalizable offence, if I can put it that way. And it forced the scrum and showed South Africa's dominance first up. So I thought that was particularly innovative. And then, as you say, it came from a Paul Ruiz under 14 side move that the coaching staff had picked up, where they effectively, during the play, in a ruck situation, form almost like a line-out, where the forwards lift one of the players to grab the ball in the air, and it draws some of the opposing forwards in and creates space on the outside. And South Africa did it twice, and both of them leading to tries, including that wonderful try from Malcolm Marx one day before his 31st birthday. So it was innovative, it's good, but I'm sure World Rugby are going to come out and find ways to outlaw some of these situations because they hate it when South Africa shows innovation on the field. But some really good moves. Maybe it should have been left for more important games against Australia or New Zealand late in the year. But it was certainly very, very innovative and got everybody talking.
All right, Michael, I've got to thank you for your time and your insights this morning. Michael Abramson, a commentator of long-standing and experience here at the SABC.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, after this, you're not leaving, are you? Because the bubbles are 7 minutes away. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. This is like a dream come true. Thanks, Tulas. Yes, I'll be right here. Let's just talk about tonight's eyes on Banyana Banyana. They're clashing with Mali in their final Group C battle at the Women's Africa Cup of Nations in what's shaping up as a heavyweight curtain raiser before the quarterfinals kick in. You can catch the match live on SABC Sport, 9 p.m. Now, Cole Palmer's brace and assist powering Chelsea to that stunning 3-0 victory over Paris Saint-Germain in New Jersey, earning them the world champion badge. And in rugby, veteran fullback Willie Leroux reaching a major milestone, earning that 100th test cap for the Springboks after a 45-0 drubbing of Italy in Cabeja. He's known as the assist king, Leroux calling the milestone a dream come true.
I wanted to make it work, even if I had to go a different route. And just to be here, and my family and my wife and everyone to be here today and celebrate this milestone, the 100th cap in South Africa was amazing. And my phone has never, even with the 2 World Cups combined, ever been like this week. So it's quite emotional, and to try and stay off that, and there was a job to do first. So it was quite hard to try and balance that emotion and don't do something stupid maybe at the start because you want to show something. And when I ran out on my own, it was very emotional. I actually didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was just waiting for the team to come out and for us to go. So it was very special and very thankful for it.
More rugby action. The junior Springboks will be facing Argentina tonight at 8:30. That's for a spot in the Under-20 Championship final. The junior Boks topped their group with commanding wins over Australia, England as well as Scotland. On to tennis. Our wheelchair tennis star Donald Rampardi says it's a dream come true to have reached the Wimbledon final and walked away with a silver in the quad doubles alongside his British partner Gregory Slade. Rampardi further confirms now that he has 2 more tournaments to embark on, and that's in Europe to help his resume and help preparations for the US Open.
So after this tournament, I'm gonna be going to Switzerland to play at a Grade 1 tournament, just to collect some point, and also after that I'll be going to Belgium. From Belgium I'll be going back home, and then I'll be studying to prepare for the US Open.
And moving to motorsport news, Marc Marquez won the German MotoGP to mark his 200th Premier Class start in style and stretch his lead in the World Championships. His brother Alex Marquez took second, with Francesco Bagnaia third, as only 10 riders finished, the lowest number completing a MotoGP since 2011. Well, we'll be back full throttle with more sport at 12:30 with John Hediker for SAFM. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, KwaZulu-Natal-based violence monitor Mary de Haas says the time President Cyril Ramaphosa has given the Judicial Commission of Inquiry to complete its work is too long. The Commission must provide interim and final reports after 3 and 6 months respectively. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who's denied corruption allegations against him, says he accepts and supports President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to place him on leave of absence. And a disturbing rise in missing children reports during the first week of school holidays has prompted child protection advocates to issue an urgent call for increased vigilance during this time. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
We started Pretoria with a crash on the M1 South just past the R21, so on your way to Buerta Avenue. That's slow. A big queue still on the N14, the Krugersdorp Highway. You'll be asked to queue into that backlog this morning from the R55 Pretoria West exit up to the N1 Brockfontein interchange. That N14 is probably the heaviest backlog around Gauteng at this stage. A crash on the M1 North at Golden Highway coming up from Eldo's is slow. Crash before Malabongwe Drive on the M1 North. That's slow from Bayers Nordia Drive. And the Pomona Road collision being with us all morning from Bradell heading down towards the R21 highway. That crash still there and still backlogging traffic as well. Durban, just a hold up on the M13 coming out of Pinetown. That's a crash near Stapleton Road. It's been there a while. There's also a breakdown at Cliffdale on your way towards Pietermaritzburg. That traffic just starting to backlog. And Cape Town, a breakdown into inbound at Mowbray Main Road. That's just starting to slow traffic coming through from Pinelands. And the elevated freeway over the foreshore is busy with a queue back towards the Woodstock area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again, Dowling. Let's talk about vehicle exports to the United States. Yeah. Tell me about them plunging in the first half of this year. This is even before things get really tough for South African exports to the United States, right?
That's right, Thulas. And just going through the numbers, we'll also note when those tariffs hit and where it got even worse when it comes to local exports to the US. Now, just looking at it over a 6-month period, declining 82%, with exports falling from 16,112 units in the first half of last year to just 2,875 units in the same period this year. The 25% tariff imposed by President Trump on imported vehicles is the main culprit behind this drop. Since the tariffs imposition in April, SA exports have plunged by more than 87%, with only 1,172 units exported between April and June. Now, in a Business Day article, the National Association of Automobile Manufacturers of SA said the situation is dire. The body is also worried about the long-term impact of these tariffs, which could lead to lasting market loss and weakened global competitiveness. In the same article, NAMSA CEO Mike Mabasa also highlighted that finding new export markets won't be easy as other countries face similar challenges. Now, the industry is pinning its hopes on a trade deal between SA and the US. According to Renee Mutihal, CEO of the National Association of Automotive Components and Allied Manufacturers, he says a mutually beneficial trade agreement between SA and the US is crucial to prevent long-term injury to the sector. Sure. On the bright side, though, despite the decline in SA vehicle exports to the US, overall year-on-year exports have improved, rising by 2.6%, driven mainly by a sharp increase in European demand for SA bakkies.
Yeah, so the reality is beginning to kick in and it's starting to bite. And the answer to the question, why do we need this relationship, this trade relationship, we're starting to get the answer to that question, because there's a ripple effect, isn't it? And Dowling,
yes.
If these exports are declining, that impacts directly in industries in Roslin, in Kariyega and the likes.
And we were probably going to see some job losses coming through, because if there's not much production happening, there's no need for people to be there working.
Sure. Hopefully a deal is worked out one way or another. Talk to me about Braid betting on Virgin Active.
So the investment group is betting on the wellness boom, and so it's planning to increase capital expenditure on its flagship asset, Virgin Active, which accounts for 62% of its total assets. Braid says Virgin Active has shifted its focus to a holistic wellness model, which aligns with the increasing demand for personal well-being and health-conscious living. It says the strategic pivot has shown positive results, with a 13% increase in revenue and a 45% surge in earnings. Now, the company plans to increase capital expenditure in Virgin Active over the next 3 years, focusing on expanding branches and upgrading existing clubs. This investment aims to drive higher membership numbers and boost engagement with existing customers. Now, in Southern Africa, Virgin Active has 640,000 members and is investing in refurbishments to meet brand standards. While looking at expansionary efforts, the company is also exiting locations that no longer meet its targets. So far this year, 3 clubs in SA have been closed.
Lastly, Dowling, how are the markets looking? And importantly, what kind of a mandate can we expect to have in store?
So local markets likely to start the week mixed, taking lead from international peers as traders assess the latest tariff moves. Also, a slim news week when it comes to company news on the local front, with investors awaiting mining production and retail sales numbers. Moving over to the currency scene, the rand still on the back foot at 17.97 to the dollar this hour. Meanwhile, in the US, futures are in negative territory as Trump's trade policies rattle markets, playing against that taco trade narrative that was really moving markets last week. Investors in the US are also eyeing earnings out of big banks later this week. Lastly, in Asia, China's upbeat export figures giving that region a boost, offsetting those tariff concerns. And so those markets sitting in the green this morning, Thulas. And before I go,
yes.
I just want it to be known. I want my mother to know that's listening that you haven't sent me the pictures. And that's why I have not sent
Pictures from studio. Oh no, I'm so
Yes.
sorry. You see there, I take full responsibility. That's not very diligent of me. I apologize and I will do right. But let me tell you, you are missing out. The bubbles, non-alcoholic, are arriving now as we speak. As we speak, it says arriving now. So that's what you're missing out on. I can't really just send that by Uber. I can't send you a class. It just doesn't work.
You can put it in a bottle.
Thank you for that. That's Dowling Lichela. She's kept you updated on all things to do with the economy, business, as well as the markets throughout the course of the show today.
Temba, how do I check if I've been auto-assessed by SARS?
No need to stress at all. Go to the SARS online query system dashboard, SOX. It only takes a few minutes.
Really? Where do I find it?
Go to the SARS website and then look for the SOX dashboard icon. Make tax matters your priority number one. Go to sars.gov.za and say goodbye to queues. SARS, at your service.
The Black Queens are chasing maximum points, but the Twiga Stars have a different plan about this contest. The continent is divided into two, the West and the East. This is the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024. Ghana versus Tanzania on Monday, 14 July at 8:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, we'll take your calls and your WhatsApp voice notes. Do dial that number so that we engage towards the end of the show. But before we get there, let me bring you this story. A powerful new tool in the fight against HIV has arrived, but whether South Africa can afford it remains uncertain. The FDA, that's the Food and Drug Administration in the United States, its recent approval of lenacapavir, a biannual injectable HIV prevention drug, has sparked hope and debate. It is hailed as a quote-unquote game changer by the Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi. The drug could significantly boost adherence and reduce injections. But with an estimated cost of up to 500,000 rand per person per year, access in low and middle income countries like ours is far from guaranteed. So let's bring in Sibongile Shabalala, who is chairperson of the Treatment Action Campaign and also an HIV activist. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Let's start with just, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, my understanding is lenacapavir. I may be getting it completely wrong, but how game-changing is it in terms of what it's able to do? It's an injectable that I understand has a high efficacy rate in terms of prevention of HIV infection.
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning to your viewers. Yes, you are pronouncing it very well. It's lenacapavir. Yes, it's true. It is a game changer. And it's something that we really need in South Africa and lower and middle income countries, especially the countries that have high burden of HIV. Yes, we still stand to say this injectable, it's very important for us to have it since we have a high rate of infection and also high rate of HIV burden in countries like ours. But as you rightfully say, the price is still the challenge, and it's very disappointing that countries like ours, South Africa, where this injectable was tested and the trials went through. Here, it's 100% efficacy. So it shows that it can prevent HIV 100% from the person who's HIV negative. So this is something that we really need. But unfortunately, due to Gilead's pricing and also not being public with other prices, because now we had, I think last week, that a global fund will buy for South Africa, but at how much, how many people will get it, that is something that we have not known.
So it sounds to me, and you rightly point out that the trials were done in South Africa and Uganda, and the finding was 100% efficacy in preventing HIV transmission. It sounds to me that we are back to those issues of justice and equity in terms of access between wealthier countries where the burden of the disease is not necessarily as high as it is in poorer and middle income countries. It sounds to me like an all too familiar debate that we can take back all the way to the days of AZT.
Definitely. And it is so unfortunate, Thulasizwe, that some people think that this fight has stopped at some point. Unfortunately, no. Every time we have to fight, prices. This fight continues not only on HIV, but also on other diseases like your cancer medication, where patients who need them are unable to access it. We've seen this happening also during COVID, where the vaccines were available for Global North and for Global South, and it's not there. So this medicine apartheid continues, and it's been continuing for years. And it's so painful that we, as low middle income countries, we're the ones who have to test and make sure that these drugs are available. But at the end of the day, we are the last on the queue to get them. So this is something that you continue to fight as activists, especially access to medicine activists.
What are the options for a response by African governments, including our own? You've mentioned the possibility of the Global Fund coming in and chipping in, but all of that is happening against a backdrop of the United States and its agencies pulling back, sort of, in a way, the resources that ordinarily would have been available are not necessarily the same resources that, you would expect and want to bring to bear in a situation like this. What are the options that are available that will talk to the issues, for instance, around patent controls and that fight?
Unfortunately, Thulasizwe, we have a long way to go in countries like for instance, in South Africa. Our patent laws are not in favor of us as activists or as communities, are still in favor of pharmaceutical companies. We've been having a IP bill in the draft for more than 10 years. And we've been fighting this to say we need to finalize this bill, but it's not yet finalized. We need to finalize it. We need to use our agreements that we have, like for instance, your TRIPS agreement, your trade agreements that we always have to say high-burden countries need to get medicine early. But we find our governments taking a very slow pace in terms of fighting for this. It takes up to us as activists to take these pharmaceutical companies to court in order for us to get voluntary licensing, and then pharmaceutical companies can be able to allow generics to be made. So unfortunately, this also, it feels like we are going the same route. Although Global Fund is going to buy, but we are not sure how long it will maintain that for now. And we also know that the issue of funding, it also affects Global Fund and other funding agencies. We are talking to you now, UNAIDS funding, it's not available. So it's really difficult to know, to say what is really going to happen in the near future, but it tells us that we need to stand up and fight for our lives and fight for those who are HIV negative to stay negative.
Looked at holistically against all the progress registered over the last 2 decades in South Africa's fight against HIV and AIDS, the multiple facets of it, the voluntary counseling and testing, as well as the treatment programs that have been put into place. How much of a priority is this aspect of making Lenaka Pavi one of the part of the arsenal that we have in response? And how should government approach it against a fiscus that is under pressure, with almost everything seeming to be a priority right now?
We really need this Lenapakave now, as in yesterday, because we still have a high rate of infections. We still have more than 1,000 young people being infected with HIV. And as you just said, that with all these disruptions of HIV services, we are anticipating that we'll have more HIV infections in the near future, because all the programs that we were doing in terms of preventing HIV are really disrupted. So it's really difficult for government to maintain those gains that we had in the 2 decades. So it's really important for us to have it now, so that we will prevent more HIV infections, and also be able to maintain or make sure that all people who are HIV positive are on treatment, so that we can be able to have the infection of HIV. And that will assist us also in terms of meeting our goals, like the 2030 goals of no new infections, 0 deaths of HIV, and all those things. So we really need a holistic approach in terms of accessing all the preventative methods that are available, and people have to have a choice to say how they can access them. And also we need everyone to be everyone who's HIV positive to be on treatment, and most importantly, those people need to be virally suppressed, so that we cannot infect other people. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and unfortunately, at the pace that we are going through with now, we are going in a very snail pace. So we are really frustrated as activists, but we are pushing to work with our government, and we are hoping that we will get where we're supposed to get.
All right. Thank you for your time this morning. That's Bongile Shabalala, who is chairperson of the Treatment Action Campaign, also an anti-HIV activist.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
From Bradell side of Ekurhuleni on the Pomona Road, coming from High Road, it's all backed up down towards the R21. That's a crash that happened much earlier this morning that's still causing delays. The N14 heading towards Pretoria, the Krugersdorp Highway still queuing up into the Brockfontein interchange. Delays there after the R55 Pretoria West exit, and a crash on Pretoria's M1 South that just passed the R21. So from Rigel heading down towards Botha Avenue, that's all jammed up as well. Roadworks are in place this morning on the M1 North between Malabongwe and Winnie Mandela Drive. 2 lanes are closed there. That's already quite slow. So you line up into the Four Ways area. Before you get there, crash before Malabongwe. So basically, between Bayers Nordia and Winnie Mandela, there's some heavy traffic. But that run up into the Four Ways exit into the roadworks likely to stay pretty heavily backed up for most of today. Crash coming out of Pinetown on the M13 at Stapleton Road. The usual broken down truck between Keyridge and Cliffdale, causing a big backlog on your way to Pietermaritzburg. And Cape Town's been a pretty easy Monday up until now. There's a vehicle broken down on the N2 inbound at Mowbray Main Road. That's slow coming through from sort of Pinelands territory, and behind that the M5 up through Rondebosch backed up to try and climb into that N2 traffic. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me take one or two of your voice notes. Let me take this one. Largely the conversation, I'm sure you've picked up by now, that it has to do with the announcements made by President Ramaphosa yesterday, as well as the status of the police minister, Senzo Mchunu. So let me play them back to back and then go straight to the calls.
Good morning to us. My brother, the thing regarding the Senzo Mchunu, I think the president to take it to that commission of inquiry is the best thing to do, because these are allegations, and they need to be proven, regardless of what. Yeah, we are speaking to Tyson Gqeberhe Motherwell. Dango.
Good morning, Thulasizwe and the listeners of SAFM. I'm a first-time WhatsApp on your show. I like your show. I listen to your show every day. Thulasizwe, I thought yesterday President Cyril Ramaphosa will fire Minister Senzo Mchunu. But it's not fired, it's a suspension. Okay? We will see what happens next. Tony Machawa, Zanitic Lane. Thank you, Thulas.
It has criminals in parliament. It has a dysfunctional NPA. And now it's appointing a judge and another minister, all of whom the taxpayer must pay for, plus the commission the taxpayer must pay for. The taxpayer just ends up paying a whole lot more money for something that doesn't happen. We really deserve better. Paul Stellenbosch.
Thank you for that. And thank you for the varied insights there and the various takes on this particular process announced by the president. And I suppose the cost of it to the taxpayer is part of the problem, isn't it? Once you've, we were talking a few minutes ago about Lenacapavir, this new drug injectable, and talking about how the fiscus is under pressure in terms of its affordability. When you have so many priorities and then you prioritize a process such as this one, you want to see a result at the end that makes it worthwhile, that it was worth the investment in our democratic hygiene. But many a times we've ended up with nothing really to show for those processes. Sabatini, good morning to you. You're calling from Kuruman this morning.
Yes, Thulas. Thank you. Great shows as always.
Thank you.
I just want to go back during the 1960s when Chris Hani complained about the corruption within the ANC leadership by then. So Mr. Mavuso, as a veteran today, was
Mavuso
there.
Msimang.
Yes. Mavuso Msimang. He was there. So when Chris Hani did ask about all those things that they were going on within the leadership, Mr. Mavuso and Mr. Mutsamai, they push back, they attack Chris Hani by then, and not Chris Hani alone. Even those who were siding with Chris Hani.
You're talking about the Hani memorandum, right?
No, it was before that.
Oh, okay. Before then. Okay.
Yeah, it was before that. So Mr. Mavuso, he was the one who was going to prosecute Chris Hani as he was asking about the corruption that was going on within the leadership. So on Friday, as he was on the radio here. So it's like now he was now on the same page with the Lieutenant General. That the Lieutenant General, as now he's spilling all these things. So he's right. But again, he did resign not long ago. Chigi goes back to the very same ANC. So ANC, now I don't understand about his standoff. Where does he standing?
Gotcha. Sabatini, thank you for that. That's Sabatini in Kuruman. Just alluding back to historical processes that involved the late Chris Hani. And of course, I did allude as part of that to what, was known as the Hani Memorandum from all those years ago. If you wanted to really get the courage of conviction of the late Chris Hani, I think that Hani Memorandum, do yourself a favor, Google it and just read it for yourself and read it in context, just how it was raising uncomfortable questions while the ANC was still in exile, waging a struggle and saying he was giving a critique of how the struggle had gone adrift, and in a sense that, some of the leadership seemed at that point to have forgotten what the whole purpose was of being in exile. And you see it throughout the decades as a theme of Chris Hani's life, that ability to speak forthrightly about the ills. And I think that's part of what the caller was alluding to there. Janusz, good morning to you in Cape Town. You want to talk about the Commission of Inquiry?
That's right, Commission of Inquiry. Hi, Thulas. Listen, we know all that our president is a president of ANC first and then president of the nation second. what guarantee we've got that this commission will work? Are these members on the commission, are the members of the ANC, are they independent? Also, first of all, my main question is it true that Mr. Mantashe is arrested by Interpol? What do you know about it?
No, I've not heard anything about it, Janusz. That would be very strange. I did not even know that. I doubt it has happened, Janusz, to be honest.
Okay.
Let me just come out and be very clear. Because when Interpol is looking for someone, first they put them on that red notice so that any law enforcement agents anywhere in the world can pick them up and be able to arrest it. As far as I know, there was no red alert for our minister here.
So if such information is on the internet, whatever, I think those people who are actually putting this information, they should have a consequences
100%.
because there is
100%.
a very serious allegation about it. So maybe that some organization blackmail or something like this, but we should go to the bottom of this.
Gotcha.
But I don't trust these commissions generally because if they are members of the ANC and Ramaphosa is member of the ANC and president of the ANC first, we're not going to go any further with this.
Janusz, thank you for that. Just for your comfort, before I go then, Janusz, just to let you know, the commission will be headed up by the Deputy Chief Justice, the acting Deputy Chief Justice, Mbuyiseli Madlanga, who is a member of the judiciary, but also there'll be 2 advocates assisting him with that particular work, so outside of the politics of the ANC. Mukwena, sadly, I cannot get to your call this morning, so we'll have to call you back sometime, maybe tomorrow or in the coming days. And unfortunately, something happened with our order of the champagne. It didn't get here. You would think I'd be disappointed, but no. We tried to get the champagne in the studio, didn't arrive as ordered. But nevertheless, we still are.
We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers.
That's it. We are the champions. Thank you for listening today. Let's take you straight to Ann Musa and shortly thereafter, the Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana.
In our top stories, violence expert weighs in on Commission of Inquiry into SAPS and missing children on the rise during the school holidays. Good morning. KwaZulu-Natal-based violence monitor Mary de Haas says the time President Cyril Ramaphosa has given the Judicial Commission of Inquiry to complete its work is too long. The commission must provide interim and final reports after 3 and 6 months respectively. The commission will investigate allegations related to criminal syndicates' infiltration of institutions in the criminal justice system. This after the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi alleged that senior police officials, including the Minister Senzo Mchunu, were corrupt, had links to criminal syndicates and interfered with police operations. De Haas says she supports the commission, but its delayed approach could prove costly.
So I understand where the president's coming from, and I'm not opposed to a commission. I think it could have been quicker. We had a Goldstone commission. Long. It's too long. How long does it take you to call for evidence which is already there because Mkhwanazi says he's got the evidence, and I've got the evidence. All it needs is for a commission to procure the docket.
Meanwhile, Mchunu, who has denied corruption allegations against him, says he accepts and supports the president's decision to place him on leave of absence. Lawyer and politician Professor Feroz Kachalia will act as the police minister with effect from the 1st of next month. Mchunu says he's ready to respond to the allegations against him. The DA has since laid criminal charges against him. A disturbing rise in missing children reports during the first week of school holidays has prompted child protection advocates to issue an urgent call for increased vigilance during this time. The Faith and Hope Missing Persons and Rights Organization, Ilita Labantu, have warned parents, caregivers and communities to remain alert and proactive as children face increased vulnerability. Veronique Benji-Williams is the founder of Faith and Hope Missing Persons.
Parents really and caregivers need to be extra cautious and vigilant when the children is at home. So they need really to check and leave the children by caregivers that really is safe, because nowadays you can't even trust really caregivers to look after your children. You need to go the extra mile to do a background check on that person, because nowadays the perpetrator is someone who you know.
The wrongful death lawsuit to determine a civil penalty in the police gunning down of Lendani Mieni will begin in Honolulu, Hawaii, in the U.S. later today. The first order of business will be the selection of the jury in the trial against the Honolulu City and Police Department. Mieni's widow, Lindsay, brought the lawsuit after alleging police acted recklessly and without justification when they killed a 20-year-old South African-born husband on the night of the 14th of April 2021. Showan Bryce Peace reports.
The civil procedure comes after the Honolulu City Council rejected a $1.5 million settlement in the wrongful lawsuit case last year. The decision to file suit came after the Honolulu prosecuting attorney found that the two officers who shot Lendani Mieni on that fateful night in April more than 4 years ago were justified in using deadly force, and that the officers would not face charges in the case. A council vote to settle the case late last year was cancelled, leading to the civil procedure seeking financial damages. Mieni attorney Jim Bickerton told SABC News last year that they believed they would prevail at a jury trial and anticipated that the damages would be much higher than the initial settlement the council rejected.
And finally, the governor of the U.S. state of Kentucky says 2 women have been shot dead at a Baptist church in Lexington. Andy Bashir says the shooter has also died. The police chief has not offered any motive for the shootings. The BBC's Aruna Day Makaraji has the details.
A 72-year-old and a 32-year-old woman were killed in the shooting and 2 others were injured, both men. The police said initial investigations suggest the suspect may have had a connection with those at the church. Before the shootout at the church, the suspect shot and injured a Kentucky State Police trooper at another location. He then carjacked a vehicle, the police say, and fled around 17 miles to reach the church.
Recapping the top story, KwaZulu-Natal-based violence monitor Mary de Haas says the time President Cyril Ramaphosa has given the Judicial Commission of Inquiry to complete its work is too long. The commission must provide interim and final reports after 3 and 6 months respectively. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
SABC News turns 75 on July the 17th, 2025.
Since the dawn of democracy, SABC News has grown into your trusted source for news and current affairs, shaping our nation and the world for the past 75 years.
From July 12th to the 17th, SAFM Current Affairs presents exclusive interviews with iconic presenters, producers and news leaders.
We're exploring the legacy of SABC News, highlighting the voices that have defined our story.
Join SAFM for a week of compelling reports and unforgettable moments.
SABC News at 75.
Independent and impartial. The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
During the 1970s, with neoliberal capitalism just being born, and with the recent decolonization of most African and other developing countries, the International Monetary Fund, a Bretton Woods institution, also known as the IMF, created a policy called structural loan, adjustment loan policy. And these were basically loans with conditionalities, where in order to receive these loans, African countries had to cut back on their public service spending, such as education and health. After decolonization, most African countries were either socialist or authoritarian, and they were doing pretty good as that. But structural adjustment made them radically privatize, radically capitalize their national economy. So what did this do? This left African countries in huge debt. This made African national economies devalue within the larger global system, and it also made their economies very weak within the larger global political economic system. Last summer, I conducted a research at the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, and I met this guy named Charles Nguna, and Charles was a lawyer. And Charles told me, Fatu, Africa's destiny is in the hands of the Africans, primarily the African youths. As Charles insists, Africa would only become developed when Africans take control of their own political, social, and economic systems. We have this idea, this myth of Africa. And we need to reinvent this idea, this notion that we have of Africa, and realize that the attributes that we often associate with Africa are in fact historically constructed by hegemonic powers and are in fact arbitrary. Change only becomes possible once we are aware, once we question the way we think, and once we challenge the institutions that are put in place.
That there is Fatoumata Wage, a graduate at the New York University Gallatin School of Individualized Study. It's 9:09. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the Talking Point. Welcome to a brand new week. I trust that you've had a good and well-rested weekend and you're getting ready for all that the new week will bring. I won't ask if you're ready to have the conversation because I see our phone lines are already buzzing. Lots of you wanting to get on the line. I wonder what you want to talk about. Let's see. Shall I think about what may be on your mind this morning? Of course, I'm just being facetious there. I know many of you will want to pick up on the president's announcement last night. This is the announcement of a judicial commission of inquiry to look then into the allegations that have been made around corruption, alleged corruption that involves the country's security services. This is a very wide-ranging commission of inquiry that has been established. It will touch on different, facets of our law enforcement, of the criminal justice system. We're talking about the SAPS, the NPA, State Security Agency, and the judiciary. It may and will probably involve current and former senior officers of any of these institutions, and its mandate is to see whether there have been members, including members of the executive, that have been complicit, that have aided and abetted or participated in alleged criminal activities. So a very wide-ranging inquiry that the president has established. This morning, I think we can have a conversation around the pros and cons of having a commission of inquiry look into this work. I'm more than happy to have that conversation with you. One of the things that came to my mind was to immediately then think about, given the matters of state security that are involved here, how much of this inquiry then is going to be open to the public? Because we know that, by nature, these commissions, they can be publicized, of course, as in, you can have media coverage 24/7 of what is unfolding within the commission itself. But when it comes to classified information, this is information that even the media is not allowed to be part of those proceedings. That is my concern. Because the minute, if we look at what is happening in the SAPS right now, part of the conflict, you have 7 members of the crime intelligence unit that have been implicated in alleged corruption to the extent where the head has been removed and arrested, right? Now, that very much is going to constitute part of this inquiry. So I'm I'm concerned about how much South Africans will get to hear the names of the individuals that might come up, what it is that they're alleged to do. Because the minute it is seen to compromise the nation's security, then it becomes a different conversation altogether, and grounds then for the classification of some information could well be argued. And what for, redacted evidence submissions before the Commission of Inquiry, when they make submissions, but at the full page, there are only 3 sentences that you can read. Everything else is blacked out or what is shared with the public, because it's considered to be state information or information that can compromise the security of the state. So that was the one thought that was triggered for me when I thought about, well, how is this going to work publicly? Because the aim of it is to also instill public trust. So it has to be open. It has to be transparent. But I guess we'll have to hear then from Acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga in terms of how he intends to run his commission for more clarity on that. So we can continue the conversation. Of course, coming in then is Feroz Kachalia, also coming in as the acting minister of police. Yes, a law professor at Wits University, but also the chairperson of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. He's been in that role since 2022 and speaking quite publicly about corruption in government and in the private sector as well. But what it is that he believes the country needs to do to move beyond some of these patterns of corruption that we are seeing. I did an interview with him, I think it was last year, and we'll play a clip of it because, as you can imagine, right now he's not taking interviews. But just to give you a sense of what he has been saying about these issues of corruption. Of course, this is your open line. I'll be taking your calls on 086 000 2032. Welcome to the National Roundtable. Everybody has a seat. You're more than welcome to be part of the conversation. In fact, we invite your contributions to 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. Coming up in the second hour of the show, we're then going to be reflecting on the implementation of the national dialogue following that briefing that was held last week with the eminent persons groups. What can it really achieve? And what should it seek to do differently now that we have some kind of way forward in terms of the work that those individuals will be doing? And then the final hour of the show, we're going to be looking at a very interesting case, and it centers around freedom of speech versus company culture. Sometimes in the office, there are those people that can't control themselves. I really say it's a lack of discipline because there's no reason why you should be swearing at work. But some people just swear because they don't see anything wrong. And if you've ever been in a newsroom, I will say less about what happens in newsrooms and swearings. But there is some interesting case law that has developed around freedom of speech and the appropriateness of swearing within the workplace. And that's the conversation we'll have in the final hour of the show. So that's what's on the menu. I'm taking your calls in a moment. 086 000 2032. That's the number to dial. 086 000 2032. And on the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. So let me bring you this clip. Feroz Kachalia, just in the past year then, reflecting on corruption in the country and also reflecting on state capture and what he believes it has done to the